Splash FM 105.5.
Admission. Additional College Ibadan 2021-2022 entrance examination into JS1. This is to inform parents and guardians of the entrance examination into JS1 for 2021-2022 academic session of the college will come up on Saturday, 10th April 2021. Time 10 a.m. Venue Additional College Ibadan, Kilometer 147, Lagos Ojo Expressway. Alabayu, Akobo, Ibadan. Admission forms are available at the college between the hours of 8 a.m. and 4 p.m. Monday to Friday. Announcer, Principal, Additional College, Ibadan, Kilometer 147, Lagos Ojo Expressway, Alabayu, Akobo, Ibadan.
Splash FM 105.5.
We're kicking some folks out of the market this season.
I tell you, okay, everyone else in this bed with me, they're losers.
We're the station that beats all the competition. We'll prove it as soon as we hear any competition.
105.5 Splash.
Daganan kilo bejenin kong no mohang. Beja masa sanalom. Muasa bende kaputo.
State Affairs.
State Affairs with Edmund Obilo.
There is a second movement for independence, a decolonization process to appropriate, realign, and reorientate the Nigerian state. You must have heard that court remands suspected kidnap kingpin Iskilu Wakili in a correctional facility for alleged murder, conspiracy, kidnapping, and armed robbery. Did you hear that the Nigerian Indigenous Nationalities Alliance for Self-Determination have retrieved their sovereignty? They are saying that the sovereignty retrieved is the one hijacked and confiscated by the Nigerian state. I am mindful of the violence in Nigeria. The threat of an explosive outcome is real if persons of justice do not arise to mediate the unraveling situation. It is State Affairs and Splash 105.5 FM, the Integrity Station. I am Edmund Obilo. Good morning and welcome. This is the musing of a radio man over the Fulani question. In Nigeria of the moment, the Fulani question gives rise to conflicts of ethnic, political, and economic dimensions. If the Fulani is not accused of political and ethnic domination, he is accused of terrorism and banditry. Why the Fulani? The Fulani faces emboldened resistances as a result of its pastoral culture. As herdsmen are accused of destroying agricultural lands, kidnapping, and killings. At this point, my friend, it is expedient to ask why the Fulani question has assumed this disturbing dimension, that non-state actors are now rising in their numbers to seek a new Nigeria, or perhaps a state of their own. These ethnic nationalities are contesting the authenticity of the Nigerian Federation. They refuse a Nigeria dominated by the Fulani, and we no longer let down their guard in preparation for the final battle for the soul of Nigeria. Battle, soul. You can see the intensity. I am musing. I am reflecting on the situation. I'm worried too. But I'm hopeful. The dynamics of the moment present data for me and data for my analysis. But let's start from this point. Chief Tola Adeniyi, in this February 2020 interview, makes a critical intervention that emphasizes a popular narrative of the Fulani wanting to take over people's land. Where is the Fulani question taking Nigeria?
There's only one way it is taking Nigeria, is to destroy the country, to destroy the space. Well, it has destroyed the country, and that's why I say we have now a space, is to take over that space and drive away, kill as many as they can kill, rape as many as they can rape, do whatever, plunder as many as much they can, and take ownership of a place that never belonged to them. That is where they are taking Nigeria to. And the resistance that will follow their ambition, their nefarious plans, is that will bring now the confrontation that will nail the coffin of a place they used to call Nigeria.
It will nail it?
Oh yes, certainly.
There's already a coffin?
Certainly. There's no doubt in my mind. The Fulani are, they may be politically savvy because of their advisors in Britain and US, but they are too unintelligent to want to take over the space called Nigeria. They are too unintelligent to think that they can ever become owners of this place. It's just not possible.
Is that not a conspiracy?
Intelligent people will not attempt. Any intelligent people who cannot take over ordinary Birom in Plateau State, who have tried for more than 25 years and they have not been able to conquer Birom, just Birom, and take it over, who have never dared to attack a single village in Lantan, will now dream that they can overrun the entire Igbo land or overrun a Yoruba land.
Where is that theory coming from?
Which theory?
This theory of Fulani wanting to take over land. It's not a conspiracy theory that must tear us apart.
No, it's not a conspiracy theory. They tried in Plateau. Plateau is almost 100% a Christian place. Benue had been completely ravished, and they displaced the people there. They settled there. When you go to Sambu Katav has virtually become a Fulani enclave, which wasn't so 20 years ago. It wasn't so during the time Lekot gave them resistance. What I'm saying, therefore, is that the way they have plundered Benue, that people there can no longer go to their farms, they go into the houses, kidnap, rape, and so on and so forth. The plan is to continue, once they will have taken over the whole place, is now to move downward south. They've now moved to the east, they moved to south, they've been killing people in Delta, they do the same thing in Yoruba land. Let me land. You can now see that it is the same pattern. That was the way it started when between 1804 and 1880, Yofa, the supreme head of the Hausa kingdoms, of the Hausa 7 kingdoms, were massacred, and they took over and then installed emirs in these places. And they've not relented. It's the same dream that they want to continue, now that they had a man who had greater sympathy for their cause than they ever had.
Then what is unique about the Fulani that gives the Fulani the boldness to make the attempts you have just described, which the Sultan will not agree with you?
I know Sultan, they now see, that's what I'm saying, they now see that it's not possible, that they're just being stupid and misguided by their few leaders who are selfish and ignorant. Albright, the former U.S. Secretary of State, warned the United States that we are becoming the most hated country in the world because of the way we are behaving. So that's the same way now Sanusi and the general in Sokoto, who is Sultan, they are also warning their people that if you are not careful, the way you are going with this, your madness, you become so hated. What is it that's emboldening you that you continue this murderous journey?
Chief Adini, from your analysis, it has been an ongoing process, right?
Yes, since 1804.
So it's not about Buhari?
No, not about Buhari. But they found a champion in Buhari when he came to power.
When you say a champion, what do you mean?
Because he's the president of the patron of the Mietala.
So that does not mean he's supporting them. He's just a Fulani man.
No.
It's just a coincidence.
No.
Yes, that is one side of the analysis. And it looks to be a popular narrative. How would the Fulani meander through this kind of narrative? Tola Adeni is vehement about his position. Now, from what I can see, this period calls for the exploration of history. For me to understand why the presence of the Fulani among other groups in Nigeria arouses suspicion. It is the reason I'm disturbed about the danger associated with the Fulani question. I want you to note, I'm also mindful of the violence in Nigeria, with the Fulani suspected as the main culprit. The threat of an explosive outcome is real if men and women of justice do not arise to mediate the unraveling situation. Having said that, I made the point that using ethnic conflict as a means to achieving the independence of competing tribes does not necessarily bring development. That is why a state can be monocultural and remain poor and remain a center of violence. But that's not to say that attempts at domination of one ethnic group over the other should not be resisted. But what kind of resistance? Every domination should be resisted because domination leads to injustice and the entrenchment of nepotism and violence. That is why power should not be concentrated in the hands of few persons, tribes, or groups because they deploy it for selfish purposes. Remember, power possess, and absolute power possess absolutely. It is in this sort of dominance that defining Nigeria's political system becomes clearer. It is this sort of dominance that causes the unwholesome violence of the moment. Look at this. The president and governors control too much power at the detriment of the citizens, leading to the destruction of innovation and development. For example, there is a central policing system that gives unexplained powers to the president at the detriment of governors, local government area chairmen, and the general citizenry. No matter the resources allocated to such a policing system, it will brazenly abandon its responsibility in chase of arrogance. Such a policing system becomes an instrument of dominance of a president at any time. It becomes an oppressive policing system against the people it is meant to protect. It is a policing system hijacked to protect a political leadership bent on misgoverning the state. Due to resistances against domination, the police is undermined internally and externally, leading to national insecurity. Let me go back to my conversation with Tola Adeni.
And so you cannot have anybody that will submit to intimidation from any other section of this country again, of this space.
The Igbos are spitting fire.
Yes.
The Yorubas are spitting fire.
Yes.
Even the Fulanis are spitting fire. Do you want to set the country ablaze?
You are a seasoned broadcast journalist, very intelligent, educated. You know, sir, that the country is already on fire. The country has been on fire maybe the last 8 years, but the fire became more pronounced in the last 4 or 5 years. The country has been on fire.
We can douse the tension, can't we?
We can douse the tension if just one thing, if those who are sponsoring the aggression can call the aggressors to order. And that is what we are already seeing in the Emir of Kano and the Sultan of Sokoto saying, look, what you are doing, you are going on the path of ruination. You are going on the path of catastrophe, and now you have to get yourself back. So that and the spitting on fire by the nationalities in the space called Nigeria would douse the fire. If, and big if, the Sultan and the Emir of Kano are able to succeed in talking to their people.
Okay, let's do this analogy together. Remember, it is the reflection of a radio man. If you make a hyena a president in this system, it controls the forest and determines who gets what. The hyena does this because it has been handed the guns to shoot animals who disobey its command. This is what a radio man calls an arranged forest, an awkward arrangement. Now, there is also the natural forest, where animals take on themselves, leading to the survival of the fittest. Therefore, Lions, tigers, and elephants of the forest line up to appease the hyena to get their shares of the food of the forest. By this, the natural equilibrium of the forest is broken, causing the lion to pretend to respect the hyena president while waiting to pounce on the hyena and the system that threw it up. This is the sort of grudges bedeviling the Nigerian state. It stifles innovation and patriotism while expanding the embers of hate and disunity. Hello, are you there? The essence of a viable constitution is to avoid the awkwardness arrangement of the forest. It is to avoid the condition of a natural forest and give the state the balance for development. Because the Nigerian constitution allows the awkwardness arrangement, because the constitution tends towards a natural forest condition, a state of nature emerges and the people take on themselves causing hyenas to defend hyenas and lions to fight for lions. They are fighting to break or take the forest. So the forest remains a battleground for domination. Many African states have been on this path. The reason Africa became a continent of wars. It is the reflection of a radio man. It is not a finality. It is just reflection, raising issues. You can see why Nigeria continues to produce political leaders lacking the benevolence to do good. With the powers concentrated in their hands, they manipulate whatever checks on their parts and squeeze life out of the citizen. Some die as others take up arms in various forms to oppose the dominance of the leadership class. This is also the crisis of the Nigerian state, and the Fulani question emanates from it. When a political system is not enamored to satisfy the common good, it plays out in the forms presently being experienced. Hey, to expand my line of thought, let's look into the person and culture of the Fulani that makes him a suspect and a cause of ethnic outrage. In this analysis, I am not Igbo, I am not Yoruba, I'm neither Hausa. Assume the radio man is no one. He's a bird in the sky, flying and musing. Call him a Fulani, call him a Fula or Fube. He is a Muslim. He is a tribe scattered throughout West Africa. The total population of the Fulani tribe worldwide is estimated to be between 45 and 49 million, with the largest number found in West, North, and Central Africa. By geographic distribution, the Fulani is an African citizen scattered in mainly West African countries. The largest concentration of the Fulani tribe is found in the Fata-Jalon Highlands of Guinea, where they are the largest ethnic group. The Fulani forms a significant population of Senegal, Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger. They are a minority tribe in Nigeria, Sierra Leone, the Gambia, and Ghana. There are Fulanis in Benin, Guinea-Bissau, Togo, and Côte d'Ivoire. Go to Cameroon and Chad, you will find Fulanis. They are in Liberia and South Sudan. You will find them in Sudan and Egypt. The Fulani makes up one of the largest ethnic groups in the Sahel of West Africa. How were they able to achieve this geographic distribution? They did this through migration and conquest. They fought wars. About 13 million Fulanis are pastoralists, making it the largest nomadic pastoral tribe in the world. But the largest Fulani subgroup are artisans, scholars, merchants, and royalties in cities and towns. And there is the sedentary pastoralists settling in agricultural lands to rear their cattle. Aisha Ismaila tells us what she knows about the Fulani.
You said when you go to Cameroon, you search for the Hausa community.
Yes.
Is there a difference between Hausa community and Fulani community?
Well, yes.
What's the difference?
Yes, the difference is that, the Hausas speak Hausa language, Hausa. Then the Fulani speaks Hulbi. Speaks Fulbi. And just like you have the Hausa, you have the Fulani, you have the Yorubas. I for one, if you gather the Yorubas here now, and each of them continue to speak their Yoruba, I'll be able to say, okay, this man is an Ijesha man, this man is an Ekiti man, is that right? And this man is an Ibadan man, this one is from Lagos, Yoruba, and this man is Ijebu. I will tell you, but they all speak Yoruba, but from different areas. So also Hausa and Fulani. Fulani has about, they have about, let me say, 20-25, Fulbe language.
Okay.
Yes. That, for example now, there's, in Kogi State, there are this Yoruba called the Kabas. When they speak their own Yoruba, you may not understand, but the Yoruba man from Ibadan, when he speaks, the Kaba man will pick it. You understand? So also, the Hausas.
So you're saying the Fulani in Sokoto might have a different Fulani in Kano.
Yes. They may not understand the language.
No.
But yet, it's still Fulani they speak.
In those border towns, is it dominated by Hausas or Fulani?
It's dominated by Fulanis.
By Fulani.
Fulanis are more in number than any other person you think of. There is nowhere you go in the African country that you will not see a Fulani man.
A Fulani man in Nigeria, what does he think about a Fulani man in Nigeria?
He didn't think of anything. All he knows is that they are both Fulanis.
That's all.
That's all.
In Nigeria, Chad does not matter.
It does not matter to anybody.
So Fulani is an African thing.
Yes.
They don't believe in the border.
No. They don't believe.
How does the Hausa cope with the Fulani?
Yes, that question is a very good question. We cope with them because we have similar cultures with them. And they understood the way they will understand Hausa immediately. You, a Hausa man, cannot understand fully.
State Affairs with Edmund Obilo is live.
Aisha Ismaila there. I hope we are making analysis of the socio-economic patterns of the Fulani. Note, the Fulani is a pastoral person. But today, the Fulani is either pastoral, semi-pastoral, or town Fulani. The pastoral and nomadic herdsman, known as Bororo, living in less organized social systems, is the representation of the authentic tradition of the Fulani. In this case, stopping the herdsman from its nomadic pattern is seen by the herdsman as the destruction of his tradition, leading to the Fulani putting up a destructive fight in defense of its tradition. I thought tradition is determined by the changing state of the environment. But the herdsman Fulani, the nomadic one, is resisting change. Do you know why? Bala Muhammad is the governor of Bauchi State.
And now, because a Fulani man is practicing the tradition of transhumance, pastoralism, he has been exposed to the vagaries of the forest, the animals, and now the cattle rustlers who carry guns, kill him and take away his commonwealth, that is the cows. He had no option but to carry AK-47 because the society and the government are not protecting him. What is his fault? It's the fault of the government and the people. You don't criminalize all of them because in every tribe there are criminals. If cybercrime is being practiced mostly by one tribe, you don't criminalize the whole tribe that they are criminals. We should be very sensitive.
State Affairs with Edmund Obilo is live.
That's Bala Muhammad, governor of Bauchi State, giving you one reason why the Fulani man holds AK-47. However, insisting on primordial tradition in the face of rapid modernization stems from the non-appreciation of the changes in his environment. There are patterns of the Fulani responding to his environment. When the Fulani declared a jihad in 1804 in northern Nigeria, it captured a large territory populated by the Hausa tribe. The hegemonic aristocratic system that the jihad imposed is also successful because the Fulani accepts the Hausa language. However, it cannot resist it. The Fulani accepts the language of his environment. That's Bala Muhammad's point. He says the Fulani is a global, an African person. He is a Bayelsan, a Yoruba, an Igbo. Bala Muhammad says the Fulani is a universal being.
There is a lot of mistrust and misconception with regards to the Fulani man. The Fulani man is a global or an African person. He moves from the Gambia, from Senegal, and his nationality is just a Fulani man. And as a person, I may have my relations in the Cameroon, but they are also Fulani men. I have relations because from the maternal side, I'm a Fulani man. And that's why we want to educate people. A Fulani man sees himself as a Bayelsan, as somebody coming from the Niger Delta, because he speaks the Niger Delta language, which you and I don't. And of course, we will have to just take this as part of our own heritage, something that is African, and that we cannot just close the border and say the Fulani man is just a Nigerian or this. No. In most cases, the crises are precipitated by those outside Nigeria. When there is a reprisal, it is not the Fulani man within Nigeria that causes it. It is that culture of getting revenge, which is embedded in the tradition of the Fulani man, that attracts reprisal from all over the country.
If I understand it, does that mean that those Fulani men who are maybe domiciled in other countries who move around, they can come into the country and this plan will accommodate them as well?
Yes, that's what we want to do. But it has to be done through sensitization, telling them you have to buy in the project, and you use the language the culture is up to be able to convince them, away from the mistrust where the whole system of transhumance or pastoralism is criminalized. Criminalization of pastoralism is the problem that we have with this project. And it requires people with passion who understand them and who they believe in, people like us from that part of the country, to say, yes, we have this. Because today there is no limit to the accusation that this and that has happened and it is the Fulani man who caused it. There is no tribe that is not, that you don't have this criminality in, but certainly the way and manner we do it is really exacerbating the crisis and the problems.
State Affairs with Edmund Obilo is live.
So Bala Mohammed agrees that Fulanis are being brought from outside the country. He agrees, and he seeks the understanding of other tribes of Nigeria. Fulani political leaders in West Africa are the President of Nigeria, Muhammadu Buhari, the President of Gambia, Adama Barrow, is a Fulani man, the President of Senegal, Macky Sall, is a Fulani man. In Guinea-Bissau, Umaru Sissoko Embalo, the President, is a Fulani man. In Nigeria, because of the dominance of the North in producing the head of state, the Southern person frowns at that dominance. It is this sentiment that defines the issues behind the Nigerian Civil War. Hello. As Nigeria unravels, the hegemonic North loses its hold of the Middle Belt. The claim of a monolithic North is challenged, causing the South to refer to the ruling elites in the North as the Hausa Fulani bloc. But at the moment, the Fulani stands alone in many analyses of the crisis of the Nigerian state. The resentment in the South is now directed at the Fulani ethnic group, raising the argument about the distinction between the Hausa and Fulani. It tells the story of a fast unraveling state in the face of rising violence, with Fulani herdsmen and bandits in the middle of the mayhem. Remember, this is a reflection of a raging man. It is a reflection to cause you to raise questions and prefer answer. I'm just making inquiries. I'm just thinking. I'm also worried. It is no longer a matter of whether the Fulani is being profiled. We've gone beyond that. It is more about the strong character of the Fulani that leaves his identity in the mouth of those that encounter him. Because the Fulani is prominent in the political system that makes the country poor, he becomes the opponent of other ethnic groups that protest their marginalization in the power game. That is one side of the story. Meanwhile, the Fulani, having enjoyed political dominance, exhibits his influence at the chagrin of other tribes, causing him to be on the defensive as he stakes his claim. This is what is interpreted as the audacity of the headsman. He faces reprehension by the political behavior of the elites of his tribe. That is another angle. Mind you, the headsman is denied formal education and the basic amenities of existence. He wanders through the wild with his cattle, confronting wild animals. It is the wild that then determines the behavior of the headsman. This is his environment. Because he lives in the wild, in the face of rapid modernization, you can say the Fulani headsman exists in the past, and he is challenged by those redefining the past. So he is threatened. So he starts a fight to remain in the past. Let me continue my reflection with Tola Adeni. Some would say that the North is caught up in its past. It remains one of the poorest zones in Nigeria.
The poorest, not one, certainly the poorest.
And now we're talking about the Northwest here.
The poorest in Africa, if you want to say.
That has become the zone of conflict.
Yeah.
You have bandits in Katsina.
That's right.
Bandits in Zamfara.
In Sokoto.
Do you think the leadership of the North now knows that something is wrong with the past?
That's what I'm saying. I mean,
the political leadership.
Political leadership, unfortunately, no. Because if they were, I wouldn't expect the man in Plateau supporting Abuja. I wouldn't expect the man even in Taraba supporting Abuja. I wouldn't expect even the man in Katsina, who is currently paying, whose people are paying 1,000 per head to their attackers, to still be praising Buhari's government. But the ordinary folks in these areas are beginning to see reason, and they are not towing the lines of their political leaders. I'm sure if elections had been free and fair, no way Nalong, whatever his name is, could have become governor in Plateau. They would have probably chosen Jeremiah Hosseini. But because we didn't have elections since Buhari came to power, we've had all sorts of people claiming political leadership over their people. And that is what we have. So if you say political leadership, if you say, do they see danger in what is happening? And I say no, it is because the so-called political leadership is not representative of the people in these areas.
That's a region that has the largest number of out-of-school children.
Yes, again in the world. Not only in Nigeria, in the world.
How did we allow this to happen as a country? Because you cannot exonerate the South from the conflict of the Nigerian state.
Well, I don't know whether we allowed it. And I'll give you a reason. From the South, Zik won against it in 64. Obafemi won against it about the same time. Even as recently as 6-7 years ago, President Jonathan built almost 200 Almajiri schools in the north to make sure that their children go to school. So what else do you want the South to do? The Southern leadership had always been preaching against this lawlessness, this neglect of your people. They just wouldn't listen because culturally it pays them to have some people down.
State Affairs with Edmund Obilo is live. Splash FM 105.5.
a máa fún ni ní ìmọ́lẹ̀ a sì máa mú ìdẹ̀rù wá láti wá dènà ìjàmbá iná mọ̀nàmọ́ná ojúlówó wáyà tàbí kébù ló yẹ ká fi fa iná nínú ilé lọ́fíìsì àti nínú ìlú Pure Wires and Cables ní àwọn ilé-iṣẹ́ mọ̀nàmọ́ná àti àwọn agbaṣẹ́ṣe yàn láàyò ojúlówó ni kì í gbónára kò kì í jóná àbáàdì kì í kán sínú ó sì fi ni lọ́kàn balẹ̀ ìdí èyí tí Standard Organization of Nigeria fi fòun tẹ̀tẹ̀ tí Nigeria Electrical Contractors náà fi dìbò fún bí copper cable ṣe wà ní aluminium cable bẹ nípele lówó tí kò gùn pa Pure Wires and Cables tó jẹ́ ọ̀kan lára àwọn ọmọ ẹgbẹ́ kaman ló ṣe ojúlówó wires and cable jáde ẹni ilé-iṣẹ́ Pure Wires and Cables Limited wà ní Afris Compound Fort Gate No. 122/132 Oṣòdì Àpápá Expressway Ìyànà Ìṣọ̀lọ̀ bus stop Lagos ẹ̀rọ ìbánisọ̀rọ̀ wọn ní 080-803-03257 Pure Wires and Cables ìrọ̀rùn fi náà mọ̀nàmọ́ná.
tí àjọ Search for Common Ground ṣe àgbékalẹ̀ rẹ̀ pẹ̀lú ìrànwọ́ owó láti ọwọ́ àjọ European Union.
bí ẹ kò bá ra àwọn ohun èlò oúnjẹ yẹn máa kó àwọn ọmọ mi máa sì padà sí ìlú náà.
kí ni àwọn aṣẹlẹ̀ síṣẹ́ onídìrí rẹ.
olùkọ́ àgbà ọkùnrin yìí ni ó jí agolo gàrí kan lọ́dọ̀ yẹn Elisa.
kí wọ́n lè di tí ẹ ṣe fẹ́ sun láàyè nítorí agolo gàrí kan àbí.
eré aládùn orí fídíò yìí àwọn ara wa yóò máa wá sí ti ìgbọ̀n yín ní gbogbo ọjọ́ ìṣẹ́gun Tuesday láago 8 alẹ́ lórí ìkànnì Splash 105.5 FM. ẹ kú ojú lọ́nà.
àwa ara wa là ń tọ́jú ara wa.
ọ̀rẹ́ wa ìjẹ́ egbògi yóyó bitters ń bá àgọ́ ara rẹ ṣọ̀rẹ́ bí ìtumọ̀ ni pé ṣé ò ń lo egbògi yóyó bitters lójoojúmọ́ yóyó bitters egbògi tó ń dáàbò bo ara kúrò lọ́wọ́ àrùn àti àìsàn o lè máa lo yóyó bitters bí oúnjẹ aṣaralóore tàbí kí o máa lò ó bí oògùn gẹ́gẹ́ bí ìmọ̀ràn àwọn dókítà yóyó bitters egbògi tó ń fọ gẹ̀dẹ̀gẹ̀dẹ̀ ara ni yóyó bitters lọ́gán ló máa ń dẹ́kun ọ̀pá ẹ̀yìn tó ń roni yóyó bitters ọ̀pọ̀ ẹni tó kún lákòójù gbẹ́lúra kára rẹ̀ ó yá gágá yóyó bitters àmọ́ rẹ̀ ní jí pépé fúnni lókun àti ṣiṣẹ́ akin ó gbani lọ́wọ́ àìsàn àti àjàkálẹ̀ àrùn ìdí nìyí tó fi gbọ́dọ̀ ní yóyó bitters lárọ̀ọ́wọ́tò rẹ̀ nínú ilé lọ́fíìsì níbikíbi ó wà lólómi lóní gel àti ní kóró tètè lọ ilé ìtajà òògùn tó bá súnmọ́ yóyó bitters ọ̀rẹ́ ìmùlẹ̀ tí ò gbọ́dọ̀ wọ́n ni yóyó bitters kára ó mọ́ tìmútòbí.
mọ̀kálẹ̀ tó fẹ́ wọlé tó bá wọlé tó wọ́n bí ó máa jáde ní orí àbíkàyà rọ́mọdé.
oṣù àbíyí oṣù àpọ́nlé oṣù ẹ̀yọ́nú tún ti dé oṣù Ramadan tí gbogbo èèyàn máa ń jì fàfàmì àfàmì alọ́dọ̀ Ọlọ́run ọba láà pẹ̀lú ṣíṣe àwọn onígbàwọ́ ètò lọ́lọ́kọ̀ òjọ̀kan yálà lóru àti lọ́sàn-án ìwé Ramadan ìyẹn lórí ìkànnì ọmọlúwàbí Splash FM 105.5 àti Lágẹ̀lú FM 96.7 àsìkò rẹ̀ látún ti mú àfàgbà kọ́ lọ́dọ̀ Ọlọ́run ọba lékè ọlá pẹ̀lú ṣíṣe àwọn onígbàwọ́ ètò bí oníṣẹ́jú 5, 10 àti 15 bákan náà làǹfààní tún ṣí sílẹ̀ fún yín o láti kẹ́bùn wá fàmì àfàmì afọ́mọ èèyàn láti máa fi ṣèfàjẹ́ lóru àwẹ̀ ẹ tètè máa bọ̀ wá o sí ìkànnì ọmọlúwàbí Splash FM àti Lágẹ̀lú FM òkè gájòkè láti wá ṣòǹgbọ̀wọ́ àwọn ètò nínú lámúlárẹ̀ yìí fún ẹ̀kúnrẹ́rẹ́ àlàyé ẹ pè Amir Lukman Tijani sórí nọ́mbà yìí 080-733-21933. oṣù àwọn arábẹ́rẹ́ tó wọlé dé yìí Ọlọ́run ọba ò ní dùn wá ládàá Allahumma amin. Bros, abeg, I fit see careless 5k for there.
For where? Oh my careless 5k. Na Ecobank straight.
Gentlemen Association.
July. EcoBank Super Rewards Orlando. Save 5,000 naira for your EcoBank account for 30 days or open new EcoBank account with 5,000 naira deposit, and you will be one of the 50 people who go collect 25,000 naira a roof every week for 4 months. Plus, 4 people go win 1 million naira grand prize each. To get more advantage, collect and link your EcoBank card to *326# or EcoBank Mobile. EcoBank Super Rewards. Now from March to July 2021. Terms and conditions apply. EcoBank, the Pan-African Bank.
ó lè rọrùn fún mi láti máa ṣòyìn fún yín ṣùgbọ́n ṣé mo kó tó sọ̀rọ̀ rọrùn fún mi jù láti ṣe àsopọ̀ NIN mi àti ẹ̀ka ìpè Glo mi mo lè mú ẹ̀rọ ìpè mi kí n sì tẹ *109*NIN# tàbí kí n pe 109 lórí ẹ̀ka ìpè Glo mi kí n sì tẹ̀lé àwọn ìfilọ́lẹ̀ rẹ̀ tí kò bá wù mí láti pè mo lè tẹ àtẹ̀ránṣẹ́ NIN mi sí 109 mo lè kàn sórí glowworld.com/NIN pẹ̀lú íńtánẹ́ẹ̀tì ayárabíàṣá mi tí kò bá sún mi tí ò rẹ̀ mí mo lè yà ní ẹ̀ka Glo World tó súnmọ́ mi jù tó bá dẹ̀ ti gbàgbé NIN rẹ̀ tẹ *346# láti gbà padà ẹlòmíì lè bèrè wípé tí ìbá ní NIN ọ̀kọ̀ burú Glo jẹ́ igi lẹ́yìn ọgbà ẹ̀ nítorí o lè yan fáńdáwọ́ èyíkéyìí Glo World tó súnmọ́ ẹ jù kó sì ṣe forúkọsílẹ̀ ìròyìn ló bá dé má jẹ́ kó já ẹ̀ka ìpè Glo rẹ o nítorí àwọn àǹfààní tó pọ̀ sí ìpè àti dátà látọwọ́ Glo àti so NIN rẹ pọ̀ pẹ̀lú ẹ̀ka Glo rẹ ó rọrùn gidi kò léwu ọ̀fẹ́ ni kò sì ní wàhálà rárá.
Splash FM 105.5.
State Affairs with Edmund Obilo is live.
It is still the musing of a radio man. But I will pause before I make my conclusion. But let's break the analysis down using case studies. For this morning, it's about Iskilu Wakili. I remember asking who will catch Wakili. OPC answered and caught Wakili. Why did police not arrest Wakili? And why did OPC arrest Wakili? Anyway, that's not the issue at the moment. The matter is that our Chief Magistrate Court in Ibadan has remanded Wakili in a correctional facility for alleged murder, conspiracy, kidnapping, and armed robbery. He was arraigned on a 6-count charge at Iyagokun, Ibadan. He was charged alongside other suspects arrested by Odua People's Congress 2 weeks ago at Ayete in the Barakba North local government area of your state. I have Dr. Kazim Olaninyo here. Dr. Olaninyo, it's good to have you on State Affairs.
Thank you very much, Edmund.
You've been listening to the musing of a radio man.
Yes.
What do you think?
Well, the radio man is just trying to assist his immediate society in terms of intellectual research into what is actually wrong with us. And in a way, my coming this morning is to assist the radio man in trying to get to the point of what, in answering the question of what is wrong with all of us. Why the Nigerian state is like this when we are growing up. So that at the end of the day, the generation unborn, the generation behind us will not say all these people who have gone before us are all stupid and foolish. That is the simple thing that the old man has been trying to do.
Wakili, He's a Fulani man.
Yes, he's a Fulani man. He's a Fulani man.
He's a herdsman.
He's a herdsman.
What is it about the herdsman?
Right. To me, what is happening right now to a Fulani man called Wakili, because it's so many aspects of this story. He said he's born here, that he has lived several years here, and he has acquired property here. He has been living within Yoruba for several years, and now he's been taunted as being a criminal. But what I see, you see, I have been the apostle of not actually being comfortable with name calling in terms of criminality. I, as a criminologist, I know that what is happening to Iskilu Wakili at present is a question of the criminal justice being initiated against an offender. Whether that offender is a Fulani man, or is a Bayelsan, or Niger Delta, or even a Yoruba man, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make difference. It doesn't make any difference to me.
What capacity does the OPC have to arrest him that the police doesn't have?
Thank you very much. That is a very good question. See, our police will know that they have compromised in so many respects. Thank God the law provides that even as a private citizen, not even a law enforcement agent, as a private citizen, when you see an offender committing an offense in your presence, without warrant, you can make some arrest. What you need to do, within the template of the law, is just to immediately hand over such suspects to the law enforcement agent.
Was that not what the OPC did?
That's exactly what they did.
No, that's
exactly why I said the law permits what they did.
But 3 members of the Odua People's Congress that handed Iskilu Wakili to the police,
yes,
were on Wednesday arraigned before an Oyo State Chief Magistrate Court.
Yes.
And they were charged with conspiracy, arson, and murder.
Yes.
The 3 members of the group are Wodele Adediba, Dauda Kazim, and Hassan Rahman. OPC, alongside the joint team of Ibarakba Security, had on Sunday, 7th March, arrested Wakili and 3 others, and they handed him over to the Divisional Police Officer Igbora, Oyo State, from where the case was transferred to the Criminal Investigation Department in Yagokun, Ibadan. The police says a woman died from the action, while Wakili's residence was set ablaze. What do you think?
Yes, when you look at the story, as you read it out now from the reports, we see that you cannot arrest criminality by criminality. Our criminal justice system is so clear. When it comes to our criminal law in Nigeria, as we practice in Nigeria, you have some rights accrued to you, even as an offender. One of these rights is to be tried by a competent court. One of these rights is to have a lawyer. You have access to a lawyer of your own choice. These are rights. Even as an offender, even as a criminal, you have all these. Now, it will not allow anybody, for instance now, you are not a criminal, to now, in the process of arresting criminality, not arresting a criminal now, arresting criminality, I want to prevent criminality, for instance, and I have to commit a criminal offense to do that. Our law does not allow it. And that is the reason why it appears as if when these provisions of our law is quoted or is being made to use in practice, it appears as if, these people are now turning law upside down. No. You see, the essence of criminal justice as anywhere in the world is that it is better and safe for 10 criminals to escape justice rather than one innocent man somewhere to be punished unjustly.
The OPC has said it was not involved in that arson.
Beautiful. That's the defense. And I love that. That's the defense, because you cannot arrogate to yourself as police now doing that, okay, fine, because some people, some other people aggrieve about what Iskilu has been doing. Burn down the apartment. You now say those people who went there to arrest him, what you failed to do are the one who actually committed that. No, you can't do that. So it's good that OPC are coming out to say no, it is not true. It is not for the court, competent courts of trial, now to be able to say this and that. For instance, let me give you a scenario. There's a madman. Our criminal justice system says a madman is not culpable, especially when he commits any offense at that point when that madness or insanity is still with him. Except you can prove that he committed that offense during the period of lucid moment.
So a madman on the street is dangerous?
Yes, a madman on the street is dangerous. And when he now has a cutlass, he starts cutting people down, cutting their head. A policeman somewhere who is in charge of guarding a bank saw it that this is a madman wearing that cutlass and cutting people down, committing offense. He now took his gun and shot him down. He was still arraigned before a criminal court.
The policeman?
Yes. Wow. To prove that this person who is committing this offense deserved to be killed. That is, he committed that offense during his lucid moment. This is a live case. It's a live case in our law reports. In the crowded market. But the madman came to the person selling cutlass. Give me cutlass, oh, give me cutlass. Give me cutlass, oh, give me cutlass. The man did not, go away. Because they know in the market that this is a madman. He just went to where the man was displaying the market, pick up the market and cut him down. And went to the second and cut him down. Opposite of the road, there's a bank. The policeman that was guarding that bank is how many people were looking? This man shot him down. You know, it prevented so many other people from being killed, from being massacred, from being assaulted. Yet, he has committed a criminal offense.
But when we talk about the law,
this is about law
in these ways,
yes,
it is clear we have laws.
Yes, it's clear.
But again, there's so much injustice in the land.
In the land, because that law, the way we now put it in practice, must have human feelings. You know, it does depend on those people who are in charge of this law. And that's exactly why we say, okay, fine, any criminal investigation at all, any criminal trial, initiation starts from the police investigation. But somebody must come and report. When now report and the police fail to do the needful, then the tripod stand that, actually uphold the criminal justice system is now, being rubbished.
So that tripod is already being rubbished.
Yes.
As non-state actors are rising in large numbers.
Yes.
To make their point.
Of course. And no, not to rise up in large numbers to make their point. You see, there are so many ways in which you can make the point, but not through criminality. You see, for example, when Sunday will said something about Ibarapa, the following week, he went there. The following week, his house was burnt down here in Ibadan. We're now saying, is it because he went to Ibarapa to say this or to do this or because of his attitude or what? They arrested those people. He did not go to the police. He said, well, I am giving those who burnt my house 7 days, or else all of them will die. I have not heard, I don't know whether you have heard, whether they arrested only one person who burnt his house. I have not. But we learned that some people participated in it, are all dead. He didn't touch them. those aspects of his own sanction against those people who burnt down his house cannot be proven in court. So are we now going to say that because Sunday Igboho said the person who burned his house will die, and this person died this morning, that means it's Sunday Igboho that killed him? No, you can't prove that. You first prove that this person who died today, as a result of what Sunday Igboho said, is one of those who participated in the burning of the house. That is what is now coming to.
I'm discussing Dr. Kazim Olaniyan. He teaches law at the Department of Jurisprudence and International Law in the Faculty of Law, University of Ibadan. The OPC members are charged with murder.
Yes.
And it's not bailable. Is it?
No, it's bailable.
It's bailable.
It's bailable. All offenses, including treason, is bailable. But the question is, you have the jurisdiction of that court that where you can place the bail, where you can process the bail.
How do you mean?
Well, the magistrate courts where these people are arraigned is a chief magistrate court. Chief magistrate court does not have the jurisdiction to entertain that case, talk less of granting the bail.
So why take it to the chief magistrate court in the first place?
That's the beginning of initiation of a criminal process. You cannot just take an offender to the high court straight. No, you see, this is the reason why you say before anybody is jailed or hanged or punished for any offense, a lot of strict, very strict process of criminal justice should have been undertaken. But that's, no, you are actually guilty. And that's exactly why in so many of our cases, the Supreme Court has affirmed it, that when you want to prove your criminal case through circumstantial evidence, this circumstantial evidence is not the real thing. You didn't see me killing him now. Why do you now want me, to answer to the killing? You didn't see gun with me. You didn't catch me when I was killing him, just like these people now. You didn't see them when they were burning. You just say, okay, no, you are arrested for murder, conspiracy, and blah, blah, blah. So the Supreme Court has said, when it comes to circumstantial evidence, the Supreme Court says that circumstantial evidence, when it's being used in criminal trial, must be mathematically accurate, pointing irresistibly to that offender, the accused, and to no one else. So it's left to them to now being able to prove murder, arson, conspiracy against those OPC. So I doubt it.
So it's the police that will prove?
No, it's not the police that will prove. The prosecutor.
The prosecutor?
Yes.
Is the prosecutor a policeman?
Yes. A prosecutor can be a policeman. He can also be a lawyer for the Ministry of Justice on behalf of the state. And these OPC people will now have their own right to have the counsel to defend them.
What about Iskulu Wakili?
Of course, he has such right too, because he's an accused. He's an accused person. So it's the police or the state counsel from the Ministry of Justice who should be the prosecutor. And when they are able, and that's the reason why the police are now saying that if you have any evidence, any thread of evidence against Iskulu Wakili on those offenses he was charged with, it will come forward to tender such to the prosecution. They will have arranged their team of prosecution, and that's exactly why the Chief Magistrate Court now says that the file of that case should be transferred to the Department of Public Prosecution of the Ministry of Justice for their advice. So if they don't have any advice, if they don't have any proof, if they don't have any evidence to prove it, they will release them. The Ministry of Justice will not just advise that, well, we don't have any evidence to prosecute this person, and that's all.
The Ministry of Justice?
Yes. They have that power within the Constitution and in our laws.
And when there is no justice, what happens to peace?
Yes. You see, it's a very complex situation, because when there is no justice, there can be no peace. Basically, it's a question of you must have peace first before you have justice. Justice must come first.
So when there is violence everywhere, does that mean there is no justice?
That's no justice. Because justice will be the absence of justice will be one out of several reasons for violence. Where there's no justice, there can be no peace. For justice carry in its womb a fetus of conflict and violence. So injustice and peace, injustice, that's the absence of justice, and peace are nothing but uneasy bedfellows. One must give way for the other. There's no way injustice and peace can live together.
And if injustice escalates, it leads to insurgency?
Insurgency, violence, insurrection. Anyhow.
So we can conclude that the Nigerian state is a state of injustice.
You see, I will even hard, apart from the Nigerian state is a state of injustice, because this injustice pervades almost every sector of our lives. I will also say that Nigeria is gradually coming back to the state of nature, and that is very dangerous. And you remember the state of nature. Short, nasty, British, before we now form the modern government. And if that case is, because what you are having now is what George Orwell predicted in his Animal Farm. Animal kingdom, survival of the fittest. If I have the power, I overrule you. If I have the power, I can object to what you say. So that is exactly.
These Wakili and others are alleged to have killed a 32-year-old man on October 20, 2015.
32-year-old man. Maybe after the kidnap.
The victim, Akinwale, was a policeman when he was slaughtered by the hoodlums.
Okay. He was even part of those that made attempt to arrest him.
The prosecutor also said that on August 15, 2020, at about 4 p.m. in Idiemi, Oyo State, Wakili and others allegedly kidnapped a woman and robbed her of 100,000 naira.
Only, not 100 million. The on and on, Edmund, we are in a complex situation of violence and insurrection.
Before you go, I want you to listen to the conclusion of my musing and make your comment.
Thank you.
If the herdsman is not taken away from the past, he will continue to resist the future. In this case, even the town Fulani who has abandoned the past will be his victim.
Yes, those who refuse to learn from the past are sorely condemned to the future.
This explains why Fulani bandits kill Fulanis in Zamfara and Katsina. Therefore, some herdsmen are kidnappers not because they are Fulani, but because of the environment that enables his primordial tradition. If he is given a new environment, his behavior might change, because environment influences behavior
and dictates the tune.
The point is that every dominance faces serious resistance at some point. You remember the Kiriji War, fought from around 1870 to 1886? It was 16 years of traumatic wars among Yoruba city-states. The war came after the fall of Oyo Empire. The fall of the empire meant the rise of Ibadan, whose military power was unchallenged. Ibadan sought to unify Yoruba land under a central authority from which the decision on who gets what and how is derived. Ibadan wanted a pan-Yoruba unitary force and was ready to impose it, leading to serious resistances led by Ekiti.
Yes.
Ekiti enlisted the help of Ijesa to stop Ibadan on his track.
Yeah, you're right.
Like I said earlier, domination leads to injustice. When there is injustice, there is no peace.
Yes, that's absolute.
If an Oduduwa or Biafran state is born with constitutions similar to that of Nigeria. The Yorubas, or the Igbos as the case may be, will turn against themselves, as is presently seen in South Sudan.
Yes, you're right.
After South Sudan broke away from Sudan, it descended into a bloody civil war because its leaders adopted a system and behavior similar to that of Sudan that they fought against.
And that is the warning of Karl Marx.
As I speak, the United Nations Humanitarian Coordinator in South Sudan, Alan Nodo, has released an urgent appeal for $1.7 billion of help to save 6.6 South Sudanese from hunger and insecurity. Friends, the point I'm making is that we have laid too much emphasis on tribes instead of the political and economic systems that breed animosity. It is this system that endangers the Fulani and other ethnic groups in Nigeria. The violence of today is therefore a fight for a new Nigeria, or a fight for the birth of new states. It is what Ewosa Osaga calls Nigeria's second independence. In a lecture entitled The State of Our Own, Ewosa Osaga, a professor of comparative politics, proceeds that the state has failed to meet the imperatives of national cohesion and development. As he examines second independence, federalism, and the decolonization of the state in Africa, he presents the therapy for its viability. In this interrogation of the features of the state in Africa, Osaga argues that the decolonization process in Africa is incomplete, meaning the state, an embodiment of colonization, must be liberated to meet the aspirations of indigenous peoples. He acknowledges the ongoing second movement for independence, a decolonization process to appropriate, realign, and reorientate the state.
Yeah, you're right.
It means the collapse of the enduring social formations from the colonial process.
The collapse.
He avers that second independence aims at decolonization, something first independence failed to do.
Yeah.
He defines second independence as the resolution of the flawed structural roots of the state. Osaga is saying that without the resolution of the legitimacy and ownership of the state, reforming institutions and strengthening of the agency of the state becomes unachievable. Before you go, make your point.
Yes, the radio man has said so many things in a very few words. Now, I've actually taken us to the historical past, and I agree with you to so much extent that those who refuse to learn from the history of the past, they say, are seriously condemned to the future, because the present will dictate the future. And we must learn from the history of the past to be able to determine the future. You see, I see what is happening to us now as our failure to learn from the history of the past, in a way to ascertain the possibility of coming back, of going back to the drawing board. You see, we're all aware of what is happening all around us. The Fulani again, the Sorosoki, the breakdown of the state's apparatus in terms of security. These are that are born out of the failure of the leadership in this country. And if care is not taken, I'm afraid it might lead to the extinction of what is called Nigeria. If care is not taken.
Dr. Kazim Olayo, thank you for featuring on State Affairs.
Thank you very much.
He teaches law at the Department of Jurisprudence and International Law, Faculty of Law, University of Ibadan. I am Edmund Obilo. I'll be back after this break. Don't go away.
State Affairs with Edmund Obilo.
Splash FM 105.5.
Right, you listen to the musing of a radio man. What do you think? 08091551055, 080-569-98678, and 070-694-93000.
Good morning, Edmund.
Good morning.
How are you doing?
I'm fine, Barrister Jericho.
Kudos for wonderful.
Thank you.
Yes, your exposition is simply excellent. You see, what happened is that when people was saying what he said back then, I know that people will be arguing in their bedrooms or in their wherever they I can prove that. But fortunately, the Bauchi governor came to establish what he has said. What is it? And so people when we say certain things, so people find it difficult to swallow. How can you say that? How can you say that? We know what we are saying because we are trying to social, political, and economic dynamics of the Nigerian state from independence. From independent to the military. We track everything, so we understand all these issues. You see? So whatever angle you want to look at Nigeria, so you can look at it from very angles and provide solutions from very angles. The angle I want to emphasize this morning is this. The representative of the people. We don't have policy representatives in Nigeria, in the National Assembly. The people who are supposed to be representing the Yoruba nation, I mean from Ondo State, Ogun State, Oyo State, Ekiti State, the National Assembly is the institutional identity of this world. It's not nonsense of this world. Gani Adams of this world. The people who are supposed to be speaking in the National Assembly. Not this charlatans, not this pretenders. It is people like Nnamdi Kanu, who People like that who are doing it. People like the president senator that what's his name, the Ghana Senate leader. What's his name now? They are the people supposed to represent the Igbos. They are in that National Assembly. What are you doing? And the other militants from Nigeria that are supposed to be the people representing their people in the National Assembly, not the charlatans. If those people were the people in the National Assembly, many of the impunities. Some people have looked at the impunities committed by Buhari and the people, it can never happen. It can never, you will never have been able to mess up and mess up some of the data online. These are the people in the National Assembly. When the people there, they can't happen. The people who got there, because nobody will care for them. Like you tell, I didn't know. So the other thing is that they have never been elected. That's why I believe Buhari never won the 2019 election. He never won it. People were determined to vote him, but they used the federal man to read themselves. I want to leave this one for other people to comment. Thank you.
Thank you, Barrister Jericho. The lines are open. Good morning. Did you listen to the musing of a radio man? Good morning.
Good morning, Edmund.
Lambert.
Yes, how are you today?
I'm fine.
Okay, so Edmund, just an advice again. You know, if you look at what has happened in this country, you see the level and the speed of degeneration is increasing by the day. And then I think, or I hope, that those who are running the affairs of this country, you know, are watching what is happening, because I'm watching from my own end, and things have to be done very, very, very urgently. You know, people have talked about restructuring. Right now, I'm beginning to feel that the only option, I mean, even to have a restructuring, there has to be that restructuring before the people now agree on a new constitution on how to lead this country. As far as I'm concerned, in terms of law enforcement and everything, this current constitution has failed. And I think restructuring is the very immediate option. And if government or the people in authority start, you know, milling about it and allow it to linger for too long, the cry for self-determination will become louder. A stitch in time saves nine. Thank you.
Thank you, Lambert. I also appreciate when you call and comment on my musing. You listen to the points I raise. You can take me up. Father Anthony Akinwale is saying not just the Fulani, all our different ethnic communities need to embrace modernity. We've not made up our minds whether or not to liberate ourselves from the museographic prison we erroneously called tradition. Father Akinwale continues saying that tradition is not static but dynamic. We need to constantly review the way we think on art, he concludes. The point Father Akinwale is making is that in a season of redemption, it is about breaking away from the tyranny of custom, tradition, and conventionality. It's about following the light within to illuminate society. It's about the wisdom to have sublime patience. Our hearts are gladdened as joy unspeakable comes. Hello. Say hello to the radio station. Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Edmund.
Good morning.
Yeah, I'm just calling from Honolulu. Now, I'm listening to your narrative of the Fulani. But I have a question for you, sir. The question is, now, the desert is closer, very close to the fire. The country in the desert is deep, Nigeria, Morocco, Tunisia. Why don't we find them? Because they are still Fulani there. But why don't we find them causing problems in all these places? In the northern region of Africa. Thank you.
Thank you for calling the radio station. Your question is for all to answer. The lines are open. Good morning.
Good morning. My name is Ayori Devolagos.
Good.
What message is the issue of this OPC? We were able to do what the police could not achieve. and hand over Wakili to the world people. What is the message you are passing to Nigeria? In another group on the visa, 30 seconds. Thank you, and God bless you.
Thank you for calling the radio station. Abenza Charles Obilo is on Facebook. He says the arrest of Wakili is a sign of progress in the struggle against attacks on farmers. On the other side, Abenza says he doesn't subscribe to the calls for self-determination in Nigeria. Hakim Yakin is on Facebook. He says true independence comes from mind before seeking for. True independence comes from mind before seeking for. Okay, he's saying that Nigeria can only have independence if justice is allowed to prevail. Edmund Obilo is saying, is there any correctional facility in the true sense of social correction in Nigeria? If it exists at all, why should a murder, arson, kidnapping, armed robbery, and trans-border terrorists be remanded there when there are maximum prison facilities for alleged criminals of his kind? John Oguchi Onisi says, will Wakili be tried justly under the watch of their sitting patron? What has happened to his co-conspirators once arrested? They were charged too. The more we watch, the little we understand, John Oguchi concludes. Okay, he says the amalgamation of Nigeria will be put to serious test come 2023. Olusuyi Olumide is saying we are in hard times. True federalism is under the carpet. The current Senate is specialist in failure. Edmund, I've given up on Nigeria. Don't give up. Giving up is to die. Olarawaju Umar Salahuddin is saying the violence in every nooks and crannies of Nigeria is as a result of the actions of the political class to amass power and wealth at the detriment of their people. William Zeru is here. He said Nigeria is feeding a monster. This monster is getting to the level of inebriation, but will continue to flirt with the calamity that it is signposting. This monster is maturing with the marauding, disparaging, and devastating result it has achieved. William Zeru wonders what would happen when this monster is allowed to come fully of age. I hope we are prepared, he asked. The lines are open. Say hello to the radio station. Good morning.
Hello, good morning, Edmund.
Yes, good morning.
My name is Edmund Obilo from Africa.
Good to hear your voice.
Let us go to the benefit of the whole situation. When I was very young, I met in my own environment, I met an enclave of the Fulanis. And there was no criminality. There was no raping, no talking. In fact, you can go there, buy your cheese or whatever, and come back home safely. But if the truth has to be said, and the mouth will not tear to the back of our head, I think this present dispensation has not helped the situation. In fact, it has worsened the situation. We have a situation whereby we are afraid to say that what is happening is attached to a particular ethnic group, or to say that the government is not helping matters. You can imagine what happened in Benue State when corpses were laid on the ground, and the president asked them to come rather than to go and felicitate with them. Only for the people to be told that they should be more tolerant. Can you imagine that? Now, it is what is happening at that level that is giving these people strength to do what they are doing, because they are convinced that whatever they do, nothing will happen. And that is why people now believe that they are being cheated.
All right.
Somebody is taking care of the interest of these people. Who is taking care of the interest of the farmers? Whose land are being taken over by force? Whose properties are being destroyed? We know the Constitution provides for freedom, but must it infringe on other people's freedom? Thank you. God bless you.
Thank you for calling the radio station. I'll be back after this break. Don't go away.
Splash FM 105.5. For area, they call me Baba 22. If you look my JC number 22, my ticket plate number 22, my house number, of course, I take cash for number 22 times bonus on top every recharge. Yes, sir. If you don't tell when you use your Glow line, reactivate now, make you begin. You don't put yeast for bread before? The dough go just the rise. They rise like 5,000 naira when you put for EcoBank. Before you know, if it become 25,000 naira.
Oga Baker!
Hey! Now so EcoBank customers just the dance Obilo. As EcoBank super rewards don't begin boku their money falla. Save 5,000 naira for your EcoBank account for 30 days or open new EcoBank account with 5,000 naira deposit. And you fit be one of the 50 people who go collect 25,000 naira awoof every week for 4 months. 4 people go win 1 million naira grand prize each. Collect EcoBank card for your account and link your card to *326# or EcoBank mobile to increase your assurance. Terms and conditions apply. EcoBank, the Pan-African Bank. What is that? Huge wins from high odds all the way with the fastest payout. Take more for winning advantages on your deserving bets on all sports. Because with winners bets, everyone can win. What about you? Visit our website on winnersbet.ng. Use promo code BETNG and get up to 200% bonus on your first deposit. Yes, 200% bonus on your first deposit. WinnersBet. Bets for every taste.
Catch your favorite shows live on Facebook. Yes! You can watch your favorite presenters and listen to your favorite programs on our Facebook page every day. Go to Splash FM 105.5 on Facebook. Like our page and get updates when your favorite program is streaming. Adùkẹ́dùkẹ́ káàárọ̀ rẹ̀ ni ṣé dáadáa ni ó jẹ́ máa kàn rẹ lọ́wọ́ ṣé kò sí. Wo gbogbo ẹ̀kọ́ dàbí nǹkan oje owó lórí bí mo ṣe máa lọ sọ́jà láti lọ ra nǹkan tí mo nílò ní ilé ìjàre ó sì dààmú ọkàn mi lọ́pọ̀lọpọ̀. Ṣé o fi gbọ̀ngbà food locker ni? Ibì kan ṣoṣo tí o ti lè ra gbogbo tẹ́lẹ̀ jẹ lóríṣiríṣi lọ́wọ́ tí ò ga jara lọ. Ṣé o fẹ́ gbọ́ food locker máa gbé gbogbo ẹ̀wà báyìí níbikíbi tó bá wà ìwọ ṣàtìlọ sórí www.foodlocker.com.ng tọ́ka sí ohun gbogbo tó bá fẹ́ láì fàkókò ṣòfò wá sí gbé wá báyìí. O lè rí àwọn oúnjẹ bíi iṣu, gàrí, ẹran, èdè, ẹ̀fọ́, adìyẹ, èso kódà wọ́n tún ta ògì pẹ̀lú àti àwọn èlò oúnjẹ ilẹ̀ òkèèrè. Ó sì wọ́n lórí www.foodlocker.com.ng kọ́ra gbogbo nǹkan onírọ̀rùn. Ó ní ilé-iṣẹ́ wọn wà ní Ìbàdàn. Ó sì tún lè fi sọ̀wọ́ sí i níbikíbi tí ẹ bá wà. Kódà ó lè lọ sórí Google Play Store
láti gba app wọ sórí ẹ̀rọ alágbèéká.
ìròyìn ayọ̀ gbọ́ àlè yìí o. ó ṣé ọ̀rẹ́ mi okú àbálẹ̀ mi www.foodlocker.com.ng. ìdásí bẹ́ẹ̀ ni.
fún àlàyé síwájú sí ẹ pé Foodlocker sórí 0903-178-7037. Foodlocker ra gbogbo oúnjẹ lójú kan ìrọ̀rùn ló bá dé.
Splash FM 105.5.
State Affairs with Edmund Obilo is live.
Yes, my guest on this part of the program is Professor Mark Wagu. He is a professor of cell and molecular biology. He is a poet. He just released the collection of poems entitled Write Me a Poem, Volume 1, Volume 2, and Volume 3. Prof, it's good to have you on State Affairs.
Thank you very much, Edmund.
Prof still continues to write.
Yes, I do. It's a pleasure. It's a great pleasure writing.
What does it do to you?
Do to me? It is me. The writing is me. The human being is really complex, but at the same time, quite simple. Complex because we don't know ourselves well, and I don't know myself well. It's only when I try to do something that I begin to understand who I am. Particularly in dealing with God, in dealing with your faith. You don't know I don't know how to relate very well to my God. So I must keep seeking Him and looking for Him and finding ways and running and chasing all that so that I can know Him better and then know myself better. I know myself better in the things I do.
Can you ever know yourself enough?
Alone?
Enough?
No, you cannot. You cannot know yourself enough. You have only one lifetime. You can only do, for example, you are doing radio, TV, communications, etc. And I'm sure there are many other things you can do, and there are many things you would like to do. And even as you're doing the communications and relating to the public, inside you, there's something that wants to come out, even within what you're doing. It's just that we don't have the time. Time is the limiting factor. Obviously, we will die. That makes it very clear that, yes, the little bit you can do, just do it. Just do the little bit you can do. And then try and do it well.
The collection of poems we are looking at the moment is somewhat a spiritual reflection.
Yes, it is. The whole thing is. That's also what I mean by searching for God and trying to, basically to be a friend. You see, I lost my wife, and I'm very fond of her. And somewhere there in the preface, you will read where I wrote that our father, St. Jose Maria, had said that those in love do not know how to say goodbye. They always with each other all the time. That is the truth. Then I ask that question, do you and I know how to love God like this? Do I love my God in the way in which I love Helen? That thought occupied my mind for a better part of a year. All the time, because I love my wife dearly. I spent all my time, she was always with me, I was always with her, we did things together. I would say after Helen, my wife is Helen, it is only heaven. Nothing in this world I did not have. Nothing. Once I have Helen. So when she left, and I had been saying, after Helen, it is heaven, I will start seeking heaven more closely, getting closer to my God. These thoughts whirled in my mind a lot, and I wasn't resolving it well. That's when I heard a voice. Again, I wrote it in the preface. Write me a poem. That is to say, come to me. Come and tell me all your troubles. Let me know what is happening to you. Whatever it is, come. So I started writing poems in January last year, January 15 or 16 last year, to our Lord. The first one there you will read, you will laugh. So I'm cutting onions to make breakfast. And I had decided how I'm going to make the onions, I buttered it, I had chilled the wine I was going to have with it. And my cook cut up the onions and I was mad, I was sad, etc., etc.
immediately the voice came again more clearly. Mark, come to me, come and do this and do it, just do something else. So I was able to calm down a bit, and then I did an omelette, I did the other things with it. But I began to realize more and more that getting close to God is not, he's not going to ask you, you're not going to do anything, he is God. He is God. You're not going to do anything for him. And what is he going to do for you? What is he going to do for you but for you to be with him and love him?
When one grows old, is it that they begin to see God clearer? Is that what's happening to you?
No. It is not. It's not a matter of age or time. There are young people who see God very, very clearly. Take care of me, for example. There are young people there. My good friend, the publisher, for example, he sees God very clearly. He gave his life to God very, very early. Many priests do it. Many monks do it. Many Buddhists, many people very early in life give their life to God. Now, if you are fortunate, then in time you begin to realize that this world really, there's not much in it. You've done everything you want. You have the houses, you have the cars, or whatever it is you have, and you still find that you want something more. And you find that the more is not going to be any more cars or more houses. It has to be something that enriches your soul. So if you are fortunate, that thought will come to you in life. But it's not a matter of age. In fact, in many cases it happens much, much earlier.
But you're a lonely man now that Helen is no more.
I'm lean. How do you know I'm lean? What do you mean?
You're a lonely man.
No. I'm not is there.
Let's look at this poem.
Which one?
Entitled Thank You in volume 1.
Yeah.
I recall my adolescence, my offenses all glaring, I thank you. Helen showed up, fell madly in love, not knowing what she was getting into. I thank you. What did she get into?
I'm a difficult person. I'm not an easy person to get along with. So when she fell in love with me, I wasn't sure she knew what she was getting into. So I thought, the greatest thanks I owe to my God is that Helen found me. That's my greatest joy in life is Helen. So for her to, she didn't know what she was getting into. Because I'm not an easy person. With my sins and everything. But God is kind. He's very kind.
Let me state, Professor Mark Nwagu is a fellow of the Nigerian Academy of Science. He's said to have revolutionized parasitological research in the basic sciences. Can you tell me about that?
Oh, well, this is, you're dealing with science and molecular biology. But basically the story is like this. I studied at University College Ibadan, 1957 to 61, and I did parasitology, just like, or entomology, like many other students. But I thought that I should look at the basis of what is happening, the mechanisms of what I observe. So that took me to a lower level of study. That took me to cell biology, biochemistry, molecular biology. Okay. But then I took that molecular biology to a very esoteric level, in muscle, transfer RNAs, etc., that you would say don't have much to do with the tropics as such, life in the tropics. Fortunately, I met Christian de Dieu, a Nobel laureate, who took me to Brussels, to his institute, and said, Mark, we need to study parasites at the molecular level. We need to know the molecular basis of disease. We need to study parasites. So he took me to Japan, started working on them. Then I came back now. I returned from Brussels in a study leave from 79, 80. So by 80, 81 or so, I started getting ready to look at parasites at the molecular level. That's when we started our cellular parasitology program. It wasn't available anywhere in tropical Africa at that time, by 84, 85. So WHO was very interested in what we were doing,
Because they had not heard this kind of story before. And were therefore quite wary of putting money directly into it. So they wrote me to say, well, we'll fund you for 1 year and see how it goes. Fortunately, it went well in that year, but then we started an MSc program, a Master of Science program, in cellular parastrology, the only one available, well, it's certainly in Nigeria, but I don't know whether else is available. And it worked. They gave me a bit, then this is a wonderful story. My scientific life is a wonder. People have helped me in my life all along.
And you are thankful.
Oh, am I thankful? That's why, I write a lot every day. I wrote yesterday, after the book was present. So you can imagine what I'll tell my mom today when I get back, thanking him for this opportunity.
But scholars like you, despite your brilliance, have not been able to lift your people out of poverty with your researches.
Edmund, don't go that way. How will I lift anybody out of? How will I lift my people out of poverty?
I thought science is innovation.
Yes, it is. But that's
innovation is wealth.
Yes, that's what it is. The fault lies with government. My job is to get into my laboratory or get into the field and do my work and do it well. Number one, nobody funds me. Where do I get the funds from? I was funded by the WHO, World Health Organization, over the period of from the 80s to till I retired. They funded me. I have students from this master's program. They didn't pay for it. All the materials are provided. Everything was provided. And some of them became lecturers in the department when they graduated. Again, from my research, from my work. So in that way, in fact, that's another story. I will tell that one. In that way, I was able to provide opportunities. What I need to do is provide opportunities for people, which I did as a scientist in the lab. My lab was active. I had 5 PhDs at a time, one after another. They're all now lecturers and professors in different universities. Certainly one of them, the very first one, Professor Oba, was with me yesterday. And with me often in the things I do. Yes, so that is lifting. It's not lifting you out of poverty as much as exposing you to this world in which we live, so that you yourself can do things for yourself and for your people.
Do you think scholars like you did well enough?
Oh no, people have done a lot. People have, the scientists in the Research with Academy of Science, come and meet scientists.
But we don't see these things in material creation.
No, you will not see them because it's invisible. Science is really invisible.
But normally it should reflect the material well-being of society.
It does now. You went to school, you were taught by someone. That person went to school also, you were taught by someone. Education passes on.
But we can see what happens in Western states, in rising Asian nations.
No.
You can see the power of knowledge.
Don't forget, yes, I gave a lecture. When Abiola died, MKO Abiola, I gave the 21st anniversary lecture at the Academy of Science. The title was Make Knowledge Offer Answers, based on M. Should, K. Kashimo, or what's his name again, Abiola. Yes, knowledge provides answers. So the answers I'm providing don't reach a wider generation.
Why?
It's not my fault. I'm not the government. I'm not a minister. I'm not the president. My job is, I'm paid a salary at the university. Is that okay? Is that salary, is that enough for me to live on? When you read, I have next year, my memoirs will come out. I spent many years, UBA was giving me overdrafts month after month after month in the 80s. Until I went to the US in 87. And I came back to Nigeria in 76. After living everywhere. Started my work. I was always in debt. Money was not enough to pay fees, eat, buy petrol, have my beer.
As a scholar?
Yes, I was a professor in 82. I was still owing, what was my salary? 500 naira a month or so. I don't know what it was.
Why is it that bad?
Are you asking me? I'm not the government. I'm not the one.
But we are government. Those in government are our sons and daughters.
Well, see, wait, let me answer that one. What the question was, why is it that bad?
Yes.
Whatever, money does not appeal to me. That is to say, I will not do anything because of the money. I did my science. I enjoyed it tremendously. Money or no money in it, I did it, and I did it well. Did it very well. The issue of poverty, please, Edmund, you know, I leave government issues out of discussions. Because it agitates me too much to see my country. I graduated in 1961. Well, how many Nigerians alive today graduated in 1961 at that time, just after independence, or at independence? Not many. We had great dreams for this country. Look at my university, Medical College Ibadan, that's the one I attended. That makes me a Nigerian. But how many people feel they are Nigerians to start? Not only feel, how can you, what are the conditions that will make you feel and love your country? We don't think those things at all. It's all grab. What is it need? You know, my people, and let us play this. Oh my God. You know, I keep saying, Lord have mercy. All the time. Oh, Lord have mercy on us. It's excruciating.
But in your book, you said, I sawed your face, disobeyed you, thinking I knew better, abandoned you, no sense of shame, you threw me out, destroyed.
I'm talking to our Lord here now. It's my sin. I'm a sinner. That's the first thing with our Lord. Often I say, I beg, Lord, you know, that Yoruba expression I might love so much, Mabi, you know, I beg, Lord, please don't be very angry with me. And then we can start talking. Then we can start talking and say, I beg, please, I will try, I will struggle. Then I will start looking for means that will help me and not commit that same offense again, etc., etc.
Do you still have a great dream of Nigeria?
Dream for Nigeria?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yes, I do. But you see, the dreams now is like, let this evil pass away. Because if this evil does not pass away, the dream, the leap we need to make will not come.
How do we drive the evil away?
I don't know. Basically, all African families love their children. Parents, the African father, mother, they want the child to go to school or be a good farmer, be a good trader, be good in whatever it is. That's how we are all brought up in families. But now families are crashing. Why? The man has no job, the mother is not doing anything. Look at the schools. How can Nigeria get anywhere without schools? My children all studied here. Now my grandchildren, one by one, this one is trying this one. And the rich, all their children are not here. And the brains, most of our brains now want to live. No, everybody wants to live in Nigeria. And I will stop you. I mean, Shonika, my friend, officer have written on this many years ago. Somebody got a job in South Africa, a lecturer in physics, about a year here. And came to him, asking him whether he should actually go to South Africa. Femi said, oh, no, please, just stay in Nigeria a little bit. Then he remembered a book by the great, I think Alex Haley, that is book on, when he wrote, Find the Good and Praise It, you know. Whatever it is in Nigeria, find the good and praise it. So it's for you and I now to find that little good, whatever it is, and that is the dream. That is the dream. Whatever little bit I'm doing, okay, take these books. Where did they come from? How can a man be writing every day for one whole year and publish all? Am I super? I'm not.
I love your books. I like reading your poems. Thank you for writing these books.
Thank you.
It's like you wrote a poem for me.
Yesterday, somebody said, Mark, write me 2 poems. But I couldn't, I went to bed early, I couldn't write. You know when I wrote Our Lord, I didn't complete it. I may complete it today or just end it there with the sentence, I beg, no verse. This is what I did yesterday. You can see, it is a one-to-one thing.
Writing is deep reflection.
It is.
It is keeping the mind busy.
It is. Oh no, my mind is too busy if it is that one. I have to keep it straight. I have to keep it focused. It's easy to get to stray on and on. I tell you, what is heaven? What is heaven? It begins here. If I die now and I'm going to heaven, it is what I have here on earth. I'm taking there. The God I will meet there is I will meet him with what I'm bringing. It's a continuation of your life somehow. I'm talking to him myself. He will see him. Will I be somebody else when I see him?
Is life endless to you?
Oh, it is endless now, obviously.
So it's just a transition from one sport to the other.
That is the frightening thing. How will I be when I meet my God? I think one of the poems may have it. How will I be? Hey God, it's overwhelming.
So you are looking forward to meeting your God?
Very much so.
We don't want to meet him yet. He should wait a bit.
Well, it is in his hands.
Yeah, for an old man like you, you can be looking forward to meeting him.
It's in his hands. Once you say, Lord, obviously we have our Lord himself in Gethsemane. Lord, take this cup away from me. He didn't want it. It's human. He was sweating blood. He was just, Lord, please take this cup from me. But not my will. Your will be done.
Professor Malcolm Rabu, thank you for featuring on State Affairs.
It's a great pleasure.
Thank you for coming.
I'm happy about some of these poems.
Yes, you need to read his poems. Write Me a Poem, Volume 1, Volume 2, and Volume 3. He's also the author of the novel Forever Chimes, My Eyes Dance, and I Am Kagara. A professor of science, writing literature. Professor Owabu received the Lifetime Achievement Award by the University of Ibadan in 2018 in celebration of her 70th anniversary. Wow, I'll be back after this break. Don't go away. State Affairs with Edmund Obilo. Splash FM 105.5. Quick, charge at 240. Hot news, cool vibes, sports, and more on the Integrity Station.
Jamie with the BBC Minute.
Hashtag Istanbul Convention trending worldwide.
Big reaction to the news that Turkey has pulled out of the international accord designed to protect women and gender equality. That's despite objections from campaigners. It seeks to prevent, prosecute and eliminate domestic violence.
Australia now where life-threatening flash floods have been warned in New South Wales. There's a lot of rain in the state. Hundreds of people have gone to evacuation centres north of Sydney.
And in Iceland, a volcano has erupted near Reykjavik. It's caused the sky to glow bright red.
Olympics organisers are meeting with the Japanese government to talk about foreign visitors travelling to watch the postponed Tokyo Olympics this summer. It's expected that they'll confirm that they won't be allowed because of the coronavirus pandemic.
And football, Slavia Prague say they have lodged a criminal complaint over a brutal attack on a player during their Europa League game at Rangers.
The Czech club claim that Ondrej Kudela was set upon after their win. Rangers allege that Kudela racially abused one of their players.
0859G.
Minutes.
Hot news, cool vibes, sports, and more on the Integrity Station.
We're kicking some folks out of the market this season.
I tell you, okay, everyone else in this bed with me, they're losers.
We're the station that beats all the competition. We'll prove it as soon as we hear any competition.
105.5 Splash. In the The global village of conflicting ideologies and complexities, understanding systems and schemes through awareness and social reconstruction becomes expedient.
They never told you how you offended them? I'm not on trial, so I can't go before.
Join the radio man, Edmund Obilo, on state affairs, local and international politics, security, extensive economic analysis, interviews, and world power play.
Nigerians must choose the path they want to follow. Follow the same looters and sponsors of violence who control the political structures or encourage the formation of a new leadership team.
Be a global citizen and join the radio revolution on State Affairs. State Affairs with Edmund Obilo. Radio just got deeper.
Jaganan kilo bejenin kom no moham. Bejamasa sanalom. Muasa bende kaputo.
State Affairs. State Affairs with Edmund Obilo. State Affairs with Edmund Obilo is live. Stay tuned.
And separate them from the good cause the day of harvest is there. Just not clean out the bad weeds, yeah. And separate them from the good cause the day of harvest is there. Woe unto those that say that this way, and they are not. Woe unto those that say the truth, and they are not. Cause they shall be cast away, like the chaff at the wind, driven away and say, just have clean out the bad weeds, yeah, and separate them from the good, cause the day of harvest is near. Just have clean out the bad weeds, yes, and separate them from the good, cause the day of harvest is near. Just to the black and white oppressors who have oppressed their children innocently. Oh yes, I say, I show my way without partiality. Listen to life, let it fall and let it fall. Let Babylon fall, just as clean.
I know you'll be wondering what Babylon is Don Carlos and the Gold talking about. When will Babylon fall? In the days of Babylon, we thought of a fall. But these are the days of Nigeria. And what are the issues? I would say these are the best of times in Nigeria, not because the number of deaths has stopped rising, but due to the agitation of ethnic nationalities for an equitable state. It is this drive that pulls leaders of Yoruba land and the Middle Belt to speak in one voice. On Wednesday, the 17th of March, 2021, In a press conference in Ibadan, the leaders under the Nigerian Indigenous Nationalities Alliance for Self-Determination retrieved their sovereignty said to have been hijacked and confiscated by the Nigerian state through the instrumentality of the 1999 Constitution. The group chaired by Professor Banji Akintoye describes the Constitution as fraudulent. So the question is, will Nigeria survive? Let's start the discussion from this point. Dr. Badiojo, it's good to have you on State Affairs.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure coming on your program.
Dr. Ojo is of the Department of Political Science, University of Ilorin. I want you to look at this point clearly. To retrieve their sovereignty from the Nigerian state. What is the implication of that?
The implication of trying to retrieve sovereignty from Nigerian state is simply disintegration of the system. That is, the Yoruba stock want to be on their own as a country, a replica of Biafra experience, and that doesn't come peacefully. So when the Yorubas are now agitating that they want to retrieve their sovereignty, they are trying to break away from the asymmetric federal system. A federal system that has been programmed to fail ab initio. And the problem is not unconnected with a mismanaged, aged system. A system that is not properly handled by the policymakers, by the operators of the system. A system in which the constitution is not workable. Not workable because of over-centralization. And policymakers have been trying over the years. My PhD thesis was on Nigeria's integrative mechanism. And my conclusion years back is that virtually all integrative mechanisms are failed. Be it federal character, be it local government creation, be it state creation, be it national language policy and all that. They have all failed. So Nigerian nation is now waking up to the reality that if they continue to go like this, they will head nowhere. And the so-called mistake of 1914 keep on repeating itself. So the implication is that they are trying to retrieve sovereignty. Whether that can be done peacefully or not is another thing entirely.
They are saying they have taken it back already.
I know, that's theoretically. That's what you are saying, but in practical reality, right, constitutionally, legally, that has not been done. But saying they have retrieved their sovereignty, it means their allegiance to the Nigerian state will withdraw them. No doubt. No doubt.
Professor Francis Ebukare, it's good to have you on State Affairs.
Nice to be here.
Professor Ebukare is of the University of Ibadan. Look at the boldness with which non-state actors are making statements. During the week, Asari Dokubo constituted a Biafran government in the making. Banji Akintoye, a professor of history, leading a charge for the Oduduwa state. Will Nigeria survive?
Well, Nigeria will survive, but not in the present configuration. In the sense that when you look at the actions of the non-state actors, it shows you that there's already a breakdown. And what probably is holding us together is the fact of the ownership of the instruments of coercion. Because what you have basically is that authority still resides with a group, the authority to the control of the military, then the control of the economic resources, which is basically oil, still resides with the group. In the scenario where, for instance, you have a complete crash in oil, the price of oil, and the federal government is unable to meet its obligations to its citizens, absolutely, I don't think the Nigerian state will last 3 months. So what we have basically here is that there are two ways to go, and I want to agree with my colleague here. One is that we end up with a negotiation with conversation, because what we are having now is that we are having negotiation without conversation, because a third element of the tripod, or the second most important element of the relationship, which is the government, is not participating in these negotiations. It has left the negotiations to the ethnic nationalities, and what that means basically is that if it is not properly managed, this process may in fact be hijacked by hot-headed elements, and we end up with militias. Now, what is going on for us basically for now is that those who are in charge of these negotiations are not after war. They are not army. They are not planning any violence on one another. So what you then have basically is that you needed the government, for instance, to ensure that the process is completed and concluded in such a way that we maintain a Nigeria that is different from what we have known.
Let's go to the northeast. Let's go to the southeast. Since the emergence of the Eastern Security Network, a lot is happening. Recently, there were military actions in Olu. The military went in, bombing sites in Igbo land. In Anambra State, boys are hitting police, killing police on daily basis. They are attacking the military. There are guns everywhere.
Yes, there are guns everywhere, and there have been guns everywhere. And this is not new. What you have basically that is new is the organization. Perhaps the most organized of all in terms of military capacity now is in the East. We saw that there was a level of organization that had achieved its purpose for the era in the South of the Niger Delta Volunteer Force, which is again being revived. In the Southwest, for instance, there is no such organization that you can say, for instance, it has the capacity to challenge the state. So what you are saying basically is that in the Eastern Security Network is testing the state. And once we get to the point where people are sufficiently satisfied that the state can actually be defeated, you will find that the groups will emerge. We are looking at the elements on the surface, the individuals who are coming to make statements. These are not the threatening individuals. You have not seen the individuals, for instance, the elite elements, the people with the financing, with the political stature, with the power configuration to be able to challenge the system. That is why I feel that it is 2023 elections where such individuals will emerge and gather the energies that we have together.
Let's compare what's going on in the Southwest and the Southeast. In the Southeast, IPOB, from what we have seen, has moved from talking to shooting. And the Fulani man is in the center of the discourse. Why the Fulani man?
The answer is very simple. The Fulani man is basically nomadic. And the Fulani don't have a state. They migrate from one place to another place. And any ethnic group that is nomadic, they will be warlike. And they have to be warlike because when you are nomadic, you don't have respect for the fundamental right of other citizens. You move from one place to another place. The land you want to occupy belongs to someone. There is no African land in the world. If you go to a bush and you clear a bush, within a few days, some people will mind and say, look, that place belongs to our forefather. So the Fulani is in the center of the crisis because they are nomadic, number one. And the fact that they are nomadic is not only sufficient to analyze their behavior, but another reason is that Nigeria is a soft state where laws are made and the state is incapable of enforcing the law. Because you know, the Fulani man knows that, so they moved from one region to another region, acquire land, kill people, the state is weak. If the state is not weak, they'll be afraid and respect the law. They don't. So when Buhari now came here as a Fulani man, they now have the audacity. They believe their man is at the top and they have little the police can do. And most police commissioners are Fulani too. So most military officers are Fulani too. that will support them. So that is where the problem lies.
Let's listen to Tola Adeniyi talking about the Fulani question.
State Affairs with Edmund Obilo is live.
This is the Fulani question taking Nigeria. There's only one way it is taking Nigeria, is to destroy the country, to destroy the space. Well, it has destroyed the country, and that's why I say we have now a space, is to take over that space and drive away, kill as many as they can kill, rape as many as they can rape, do whatever, plunder as many as much they can, and take ownership of a place that never belonged to them. That is where they are taking Nigeria to. And the resistance that will follow their ambition, their nefarious plans, is that will bring now the confrontation that will nail the coffin of a place they used to call Nigeria.
It will nail it?
Oh yes, certainly.
There's already a coffin?
Certainly. There's no doubt in my mind. The Fulani are, they may be politically savvy because of their advisors in Britain and US, but they are too unintelligent to want to take over the space called Nigeria. They are too unintelligent to think that they can ever become owners of this place. It's just not possible.
Is that not a conspiracy?
Intelligent people will not attempt. Any intelligent people who cannot take over ordinary Biram in Plateau State, who have tried for more than 25 years and they've not been able to conquer Biram, just Biram, and take it over, who have never dared to attack a single village in Lantan, will now dream that they can overrun the entire Igbo land or overrun a Yoruba land.
Now, where is that theory coming from?
Which theory?
This theory of Fulani wanting to take over land. It's not a conspiracy theory that must tear us apart.
No, it's not a conspiracy theory. They tried in Plateau. Plateau is almost 100% a Christian place. Benue had been completely ravished, and they displaced the people there. They settled there. When you go to Sambuk Katav has virtually become a Fulani enclave, which wasn't so 20 years ago. It wasn't so during the time Lekot gave them resistance. What I'm saying, therefore, is that the way they have plundered Benue, that people there can no longer go to their farms, they go into the houses, kidnap, rape, so on and so forth. The plan is to continue, once they will have taken over the whole place, is now to move downward south. They've now moved to the east, they've moved to south, they've been killing people in Delta, they're doing the same thing in Yoruba land. Let me land. You can now see that it is the same pattern. That was the way it started when between 1804 and 1880, Yunfa, the supreme head of the Hausa kingdoms, of the Hausa 7 kingdoms, were massacred, and they took over and then installed emirs in these places. And they've not relented. It's the same dream that they want to continue. Now,
State Affairs with Edmund Obilo is live.
Professor Bukari, that seems to be the dominant narrative. What do you think?
Well, I have heard it over and over again, but I find it amusing, not because there is no logic to it, but simply because if people have such a plan, then it's a preposterous plan. Because you have to look at the population dynamics of the 19th century, early 19th century, when this kind of politics was implemented. It doesn't show that there's a lot of understanding of the way the world has changed since then. Second issue is basically that the narrative itself is being fed by the nature of the crisis that we are having on ground, and the fact that the engagement of the country, of the federal government, is compromising. Now, if you say you have a farmer-herders conflict, and there is a movement from farmer-herders conflict now to the a conflict where we have now classified as banditry. And banditry is now evolving into a criminal cartel of what we call a kidnapping enterprise. And then we are seeing the narratives, for instance, of the dominant cultural entities who are even legitimizing the ownership issue. So it's not just that somebody is speculating or that there's a conspiracy. It is that the major dominant elements who are speaking on behalf of these people are also themselves now really entrenching the narrative. So what you tell the ordinary person, if the federal government, for instance, is not coming out to say, look, this is not the case. If you find, for instance, there are speculations out there that have not been debunked of arms being dropped in locations, and then, of course, where you discover government agents appearing to speak and support certain tendencies from a certain group, the average Nigerian is likely to hold on to this position. What appears to have happened basically is that if there was an agenda at the beginning, the agenda actually has been hijacked, it has failed, it has been hijacked. What we have basically dominantly today is a criminal enterprise that may eventually turn out into a bloodbath. I am actually afraid at what is going to happen. I feel sorry also because it's not, when we talk about the Fulani, for instance, we are not talking about everybody. Because that's really the tragic thing about it. You have peaceful Fulani who were never consulted by these elements, who are sitting down and doing their business, normal, natural business. They are roped in. Now, when you hear also dominant elements of other cultural groups speaking on behalf of the Yorubas, speaking on behalf of the Igbos, you have to look at two things. First of all, who are the classes of people speaking on behalf of these peoples? In the Yoruba land, you can say, okay, we have known some of these people who are speaking. How many are they? You cannot see any cohesion, any order, any organization. What you are saying are a number of so many different voices speaking on behalf of the people, and majority of the people are going about their normal business. If you go to so-called, the Fulani now is being reduced to Miyetti Allah. And there is a guy who says he's the president of the Miyetti Allah, who is lawless, who can utter sentence, who appears to be above the state. Now, where a state exists, all these kinds of voices and narratives would have been shut down.
Dr. Ojo, look at that dominant narrative. Break it down.
As a political scientist, I want to disagree with my partner Olaniji. I want to disagree with him in the sense that the new way for field security in Nigeria that led to all the discussion is not about Fulani alone. It is about 5 dimensions. You have the ethno-religious crisis here and there. You have the Boko Haram insurgency here and there. You have kidnappings. Not only Fulanis are kidnapping, Yorubas, Hausa, Igbos. And you have political violence, / electoral violence, anytime you have elections. And the farmer others crisis too. You see, the new way for field security should be properly analyzed in the country. The one way analysis we have all been going is about Fulani alone. The political agitation of the Fulanis, the reality on the ground in the 21st century cannot make it realizable. The population size, you mentioned it on radio earlier this morning, the population size of the Fulanis is not strong enough to justify the Fulani taking over the whole country. It's not possible, right? But the truth is that we have a weak state, Nigerian state. And when Obasanjo was there, why I see that the tempo and tenor of the crisis wasn't like this? When Jonathan was there, why I say that it wasn't like this? Those are the questions. Why I say that when Buhari took over, that the Fulani crisis became more pronounced? I want to assume that immediately Buhari leave the place, another person become president, the crisis will go down. But the fundamental issue today is ethnic agitation, which the Fulani crisis has led to. Yorubas are now saying they wanted to go away. The Igbos anytime they want to go away. In the federal arrangement, the Hausa Fulani group, they know what they want. What is it? They want to dominate. The Igbos, they know what they want. Eternally, they want to go away. The Yoruba doesn't know what they want. They are just realizing that it is not in their best interest to go along. Let us break away too. So we have fundamental issues on our hand that those in government at federal level, they need to sit up. Those in the National Assembly, they need to discuss and find a way. If the federal arrangement will not disintegrate. And I want to sound this note of caution quickly that former Soviet Union, USSR, was brought together in 1914, the same year that Nigeria was amalgamated. And by 1980, the union disintegrated. If Nigeria is still dragging on today, and former Soviet Union disintegrated because of Russian hegemony, if Fulani hegemony continues in Nigeria today, and somebody somewhere is saying Nigeria cannot disintegrate, we are deceiving ourselves.
You know really what bothers me is not even this ethnic agitations. What bothers me more is a popular revolt that will come if we don't take our business seriously. There's a dimension of what is going on among the so-called Fulani headsmen. There's a rebellion now against the northern elite. Some of these things you are saying basically as headsmen, the headsmen have no ideology. The so-called the bandits, they have no ideology. They simply are after money and violence. And what you're saying basically is that we're seeing the targeting of soft individuals now, soft targets. It's not going to remain like this forever. It's going to turn into an elite revolt. That was why the frustration of the NSAS itself was a capital mistake on the youths in Nigeria, because what you are going to see as the youth revolt is going to lead to where we are not going, where we don't expect. Now, the reason why I don't even believe that what is going on now is really what we should be expecting or what we should be fearing is that if you give the Southeast a political option, listen to the narrative of the politicians. The politicians are not after change. What they are saying is, we want the presidency. If the Southeast gets the presidency, that's the end of the whatever support that is happening in the Southeast today. The Kanu will be subverted completely in the Southeast by his own people. If you give if power should return to Yoruba land today and Yoruba has the presidency, will these agitations continue? These are the fundamental questions. If the middle belts have the Senate presidency, the elites basically are the capital problems that we are seeing. And the agitation, you see what we are saying are opportunism. A lot of it is opportunism. I'm not saying everything is opportunism, but a lot of it. And it is disconnected from the youth narratives. What the youths are asking for. Look, the truth basically is that if we do not fundamentally do something about this nation, we don't restructure this nation, the nation will continue to decay, it will disintegrate, but we are not going to have viable nations coming out of it because we will not have planned, because even those who are talking about warfare and so on, what is the evidence that there's an organization, that they are organizing towards a breakup? What is the evidence, for instance, that they are accumulating capital? What is the evidence that they are having instruments of states?
I was asking one, you want an Oduduwa state. Where's the document? What is an Oduduwa state going to look like? It took Ojukwu to start the war. Yeah. It was until 1969 that they came out with the Agada Declaration. By then, Biafra was already losing the war. So before the war, Biafra did not even have an agenda of what a Biafran state would look like. So I'm asking, those calling for an Oduduwa state, what will it look like? That will be after this break. Don't go away.
State Affairs with Edmund Obilo is live. Splash FM 105.5.
Do you know you can study in Hungary and Cyprus with ease?
Yes, the representative of Istvan University in Hungary and European University of Levsk in North Cyprus are at your beck and call here in Ibadan, Nigeria.
These schools are in partnership with the Edu Consult of Ruscon Travels and Tours Limited, and over the years, several students have gained admission and visa to study and get their degree by leveraging on this partnership. Ruscon Travels and Tours Limited is your link to study in Istvan University in Hungary and North Cyprus European University of Levsk.
Two world-class universities with campuses located in a serene and friendly environment. You pay zero deposit and service charge until your visa is secured. For more inquiries, call 0816-932 932-9152. Again, 0816-932-9152.
Our office is at number 53 MKO Abiola Way, Ajigbo Bus Stop, Ring Road, Ibadan, Oyo State. On Facebook and Instagram at Ruscon Travels NG, Ruscon Travels and Tours. Alright, let's go to Hungary and Cyprus for qualitative education.
Oṣù àpọ́nlé oṣù ẹ̀yọ́nú tún ti dé oṣù Ramadan tí gbogbo èèyàn máa ń jí fàfàmì àfàmì alọ́dọ̀ Ọlọ́run ọba láà pẹ̀lú ṣíṣe àwọn onígbàwọ́ ètò lọ́lọ́kọ̀ òjọ̀kan yálà lóru àti lọ́sàn-án àwẹ̀ Ramadan ìyẹn lórí ìkànnì ọmọlúwàbí Splash FM 105.5 àti Lágẹ̀lú FM 96.7 àsìkò rẹ̀ látún ti mú àfàgbà kọ́ lọ́dọ̀ Ọlọ́run ọba lékè ọlá pẹ̀lú ṣíṣe àwọn onígbàwọ́ ètò bí oníṣẹ́jú márùn-ún mẹ́wàá àti mẹ́ẹ̀ẹ́dógún bákẹ́rẹ́ làǹfààní tún ṣí sílẹ̀ fún yín o láti kẹ́bùn wá fàmì àfàmì afọ́mọ èèyàn láti máa fi ṣèfàjẹ́ lóru àwẹ̀ ẹ tètè máa bọ̀ wá o sí ìkànnì ọmọlúwàbí Splash FM àti Lágẹ̀lú FM òkè gájòkè láti wá ṣòǹgbọ̀wọ́ àwọn ètò nínú lámàlárẹ̀ yìí fún ẹ̀kúnrẹ́rẹ́ àlàyé ẹ pè Amir Lukman Tijani sórí nọ́mbà yìí 080-733-21933. oṣù àwọn alábẹ́rẹ́ tó wọlé dé yìí Ọlọ́run ọba ò ní dùn wá ládàá Allahumma àmín.
Mọ ohun tó ń ṣẹlẹ̀ ní àyíká rẹ nípasẹ̀ ìròyìn BBC ní Yorùbá nítorí kí o tó lè tayọ o ní láti mọ̀ ọ́ ní ìmísí pẹ̀lú àwọn oríṣiríṣi ìròyìn láti ibi àti káàkiri àgbáyé. Nígbà tí o bá ní ìmọ̀ nípa ohun tó ń lọ ní àgbáyé o lè ṣe ohunkóhun. Mọ ohun tó ń ṣẹlẹ̀ ní àyíká rẹ wá BBC News Yorùbá kàn.
tí àjọ Search for Common Ground ṣe àgbékalẹ̀ rẹ̀ pẹ̀lú ìrànwọ́ owó láti ọwọ́ àjọ European Union.
bí ẹ kò bá ra àwọn ohun èlò oúnjẹ yẹn máa kó àwọn ọmọ mi máa sì padà sílùú ńlá.
kí ni àwa ṣẹlẹ̀ síṣẹ́ onídìrí rẹ.
olùkọ́ àgbà ọkùnrin yìí ni ó jí agolo gàrí kan lọ́dọ̀ yẹn Elisa.
kí wọ́n lè di tí ẹ ṣe fẹ́ sun ún láàyè nítorí agolo gàrí kan àbí.
eré aládùn orí rédíò yìí àwọn ara wa yóò máa wá sí ti ìgbọ̀ yín.
ní gbogbo ọjọ́ ìṣẹ́gun Tuesday
láago 8 alẹ́.
lórí ìkànnì yìí Splash 105.5 FM.
ẹ kú ojú lọ́nà.
àwa ara wa là ń tọ́jú ara wa.
Bros, abeg, I fit see careless 5k for there.
For where? Oh my careless 5k. Na Ecobank straight.
Stingy Men Association.
Hey, Ecobank Super Rewards Orlando. Save 5,000 naira for your Ecobank account for 30 days or open new Ecobank account with 5,000 naira deposit and you fit be one of the 50 people wey go collect 25,000 naira awoof every week for 4 months. Plus, 4 people go win 1 million naira grand prize each. To gather more advantage, collect and link your Ecobank card to *326# or Ecobank Mobile. Ecobank Super Rewards. Now from March to July 2021. Terms and conditions apply. Ecobank, the Pan-African Bank.
A fully furnished, nice and comfortable hostel accommodation in University of Ibadan, our place for seminars and executive trainings at the same venue? You do not have to worry. At Dubai Akude Hall, suits your lodging needs and provide you a home away from home. At Dubai Akude Hall is a 4-star hostel built in a serene environment with constant supply of electricity. It has fully furnished rooms that gives you great comfort at an affordable price. At Dubai Akude Hall is located at Ajibode Extension, University of Ibadan. To make reservations, visit www.adibaiahall.com or call the numbers 0805-699-8718, 0805-699-8719, 0805-699-8720. And Dubai Akude Hall. Built for comfort. Built for you.
Splash FM 105.5. State of Affairs with Edmund Obilo. is live. Stay tuned.
In his paper, Dr. Jackie Slias observes that Africa and the Middle East are likely to remain the regions with the highest conflict burden for the foreseeable future, and that there was the need to invest in conflict prevention. According to him, democratic deficit is a factor that could upset developmental progress and lead to a period of instability. Nigeria at the moment is experiencing violence as Oyo State suffers from insecurity. I recommend my Oyo app to you. Download my Oyo app on Google Play Store, iOS, and report issues that threaten national security. My Oyo Citizen app is a community of citizens on the march to development. Remember, it is my app. Your app. We built it for us. It is the voices of the people. The app is the messages of redemption. It is the events of government and the assessment of the citizen. You can download my Oyo app. Remember, if you see something, say something. Security is the responsibility of all. The program is State Affairs on Splash 105.5 FM, the Integrity Station. I'm discussing with Dr. Bade Ojo, an Associate Professor of Comparative Politics, University of Ilorin, is the head of Department of Political Science. He served as a special advisor of political matters to Governor Abiola Ajimobi in his first term and was the chief of staff to the former governor in his second term. Dr. Ojo, that Yoruba nation, that Oduduwa state people are calling for, they've not told me what it will look like. Is there a template at the moment?
At the moment, there is no template, and that is a fundamental fear. There are a lot of groups coming up with different ideas. I've read a number of the ideas they are coming up with, and for now, there is no unity. So, calling for to do a republic, I think the first stage, which is that of sensitization, enlightenment, and all that, is what they are supposed to be doing now, rather than contemplating breaking away, like that. Because no charismatic leader, the likes of Awolowo, no leader, the like of Ojukwu, today, then Yoruba can point at that, look, this person can be our Moses. So the project Abidensio is not really flying because we don't have charismatic leaders in Yoruba land. We are not talking of opinion molders like Professor Banji Akintoye, an historian, but the likes of Ojukwu, and you cannot talk of other miscreants calling for war who are not eggheads. If you throw Yoruba or to do a republic at them today, they don't know what to do with it. They don't know how to organize it. Where is the boundary from? Kwara, they are saying, should be part of Odudua Republic. Kwara, where I work, they are politically in the north, geographically in the south. You see, part of Kogi, they are saying it's Yoruba, other part of Kogi in the north. So, who is going to call for a referendum when government is not part of the discussion? We are just talking to ourselves rather than intellectual preparation.
Why is government not part of the discussion? Is government taking this cause for granted?
Yeah, government is taking it for granted because they are relying on what we call federal might. That look, you are deceiving yourselves. If you want to cause trouble, we can suppress you. Government is relying on federal might. And that federal might may eventually fail like it did in Russia, which I mentioned recently. So, but if Oduduwa Republic will fly, it takes more intellectual preparation than what is going on for now.
Professor Bukari is here. He is the president, Nigerian Academy of Letters. Prof, is there a template? What is a Biafran state going to look like? I want to have that discussion.
Unfortunately, even Biafra itself is emerging controversy. Recently, we saw Asari Dokube creating another kind of Biafra. Nnamdi Kanu has sacked the London branch, more or less, since nobody should have anything to do with them, because there's a controversy now. Now he describes himself as supreme leader. First of all, again, this is anti-democratic, which already foretells the kind of republic that will emerge from that. They have drawn boundaries and claim territories that are beyond Biafra. So it shows that there is no... If you were government, basically you will probably not be too frightened by the incoherence that you are seeing on ground. But I want to say to my colleague here, Dr. Bade, that actually there is a Moses in the Yoruba land. It's just unfortunate that the Moses is hiding in the palace of the Pharaoh.
How do you mean? Can you explain?
I don't want to explain. Unfortunately, that's the tragedy of these agitations, But eventually, my big fear, I think we should look at there is a positive side out of these, out of all that is going on. And the positive side is that for the first time, we probably are having genuine discussions and agitations in the open space. What we just need now is a responsible federal government that will aggregate all of these energies and then will come up with something that will work to save Nigeria, because a bigger Nigeria is a better Nigeria.
Yeah.
But then we must establish the rights of the various indigenous peoples for them to thrive. Because when we aggregate the diversities, we get a better option, a better creation out of it.
Let's look at the Minister of Information responding to Asari Dokubo's creation of a government in waiting. He says, I'm quoting Lai Mohammed now, I'm sure you've heard of the theater of the absurd. That's the best way I can describe it. If Asari Dokubo wants to form and run a phantom government, I think he is free to do so. This administration will not be distracted because we still have a lot to do. Is that an appropriate response?
You see, that is an inappropriate response. These are the people giving federal government problem, deceiving those that are at the top echelon of the government. You don't ignore Asari Dokubo. You don't ignore just anybody making ethnic agitation. They are supposed to advise government that, look, how do we wriggle out of all these ethnic crises here and there? And the only way is nothing but restructuring. If federal government could wake up tomorrow and sincerely they want this country to be restructured so that ethnic nationalities can have sufficient freedom to operate in terms of fiscal federalism, resources in your area, have control of them, pay royalty to the federal government, then all these agitations will go down. Mind you, there's no country in the world without agitations here and there. But the tempo, the tenor in Nigeria is becoming frightening. And the only panacea for me as a political scientist is nothing but the structuring of the system.
We saw in Osun State indigents of a particular local government taking themselves to mining sites, driving away the Chinese miners, claiming their land. Professor Bukari.
Yeah, they did. You see, we are going to see more and more of that when the state has failed the average Nigeria. The communities are all under threats and terror. People can no longer just wait and be violated, be traumatized on a daily basis because, look, let's be frank with yourself. We speak all the good narratives and so on. I don't know how many of us will be so violated and then we'll start to continue to preach peace. peace is not something you achieve by, it has to be achieved as a group. There has to be a decisive engagement by the government. First of all, the information turnover now is in 24-hour cycle. Government is still responding in the old logic of a few months. But then we have the time lag trap that governance is still held to. By the time government comes out with a solution, the problem has changed, the dynamics have moved on. You see, this is not the government of, go to sleep. This is not an era where a government goes to sleep. You respond appropriately, promptly as things are happening. So I don't blame the communities. What we now need basically is dynamic leadership. The likes of Lai Mohammed, for instance, you know why private companies don't appoint, when you rise from the position of a messenger, for instance, to the point of where they will need to give you into an executive position, they sack you. The reason they do that, where corporations do that, is that the messenger mentality will still be in the person. So that it doesn't start and end up becoming a general manager who still carries mail from one office to the other.
How does that affect
Lai Mohammed is an opposition. He has been too inserted in opposition rhetorics, opposition mentality. So he's still running his office in government as an opposition person.
Let's read the story here. The Punch says some youths under the urges of Omo Ekun youths of Ijesaland have shut down some mining sites and ordered miners operating in the area to vacate the communities. According to the findings, the action commenced on Monday with youths numbering about 300 on motorcycles visiting mining sites in Ijesha, both in Obokun local government area, and asking Chinese miners and laborers found on the site to immediately leave the communities. Let's listen to what the National Security Advisor has to say about the actions of non-state actors. His name is Babagana Mungunu.
That have been causing problems for the innocent peoples, not just in Zamfara State or the Northwest Zone, but also the Northeast and other parts of the country in the South-South, have been placed under surveillance by the intelligence agencies. We've had a lot of reports coming in, collusion with people from all walks of life. Therefore, both the defense and intelligence organizations have been charged that while we look forward to having a peaceful, non-kinetic resolution, we will not allow this country to drift into state failure. And with effect from today, the new service chiefs have been given directives by the Minister of Defense, conveyed by the President to the Minister of Defense, to reclaim all areas that have been dominated by bandits, by kidnappers, and other scoundrels and scallywags. Already the President has given directives to the military and the intelligence organizations to trail and flush out all the people that have been on our watch list. And I can assure you there's quite a handful of people on our watch list. They will be trailed, they will be rooted out, and they'll be brought to book, they'll be prosecuted, and they'll be made an example of.
State Affairs with Edmund Obilo is live.
Babangana Mugunu made that statement about 2 weeks ago, but bandits are still on rampage in Zamfara, in Kaduna. Even as he's talking, youths in Oshun are chasing out miners, despite the no-fly zone in Zamfara. Mayhem everywhere. Who is listening to Babangana Mugunu? Briefly.
See, the fundamental problem the man is unable to address is one of the major absurdities of our federal arrangement. You have solid minerals buried on the ground all over the country. And the over-centralized federal system runs in a way that only federal government can exploit the solid minerals. Whereas communities where you have those solid minerals, foreigners, Chinese, Indians are coming with local entrepreneur, exploit the solid minerals with their country land degradation, suffering to the local community. The state government cannot exploit the minerals because of the federal arrangement. Like we have Mabon, Bertil, like they have other solid minerals or gold in also and all over, national all over. If federal government doesn't wake up and restructure, allow state government and local government take control of minerals in their community, pay royalty to the federal government, and foreigners can now come, employ our people, exploit the solid minerals, export them, make more money, while the natural owners, the domain where the solid minerals are, they are getting poorer. You cannot but have resistance. So what the man is saying is not being factual. It's to advise government and local, let us think out with the constitution and allow minerals to belong to communities where they are naturally and see what will happen.
The national security I think is just blowing hot air. I mean, we've heard this before over and over. The problem of this country can be solved by politics and by legislation. Not all this kinetic action is nonsense. Because some of the people we are calling to go and do the kinetic action, they are invested in war, in violence. You are just going to make more millionaires out of those you are sending to those locations. So what is he talking about? I think basically there's a fundamental failure of thinking.
When will the beautiful ones be born? I have a feeling that the beautiful ones are here.
Yeah, I agree. You see, the problem basically, all of these things we are talking about is that when you do what you need to do, first of all, even if you don't get to the level of restructuring, first of all, decentralize. Government should get its hands out of business, for instance. Yeah. So once the government gets its hands out of business, you will find out that the private sector will take over, communities will take over businesses. The whole business of patronage, the system is collapsing because of patronage, the patronage system. And we are seeing a new level now, that incompetence. What we are seeing today is not just about the control and domination. We are seeing leadership incompetence. And when you get to this level, we are going to, the next level basically is the desiccation of the state. And this is what I fear most, because in a desiccated state, reason and will fail completely, that you and I will not be safe.
And the whole African region will be in crisis.
Serious crisis.
Dr. Bariodo, thank you for featuring on State Affairs.
Thank you very much.
Professor Francis Ebukari, thank you for coming.
Thank you very much.
It is the analysis of the Nigerian state. It is a reflection on the future. Next week is another time. I am Edmund Obilo. Thank you for listening.
State Affairs with Edmund Obilo.
Countdown 4, 3, 2, 1. Feel the music. On your radio. Splash, the height of entertainment.